All right, all right, all right. Things got a little bit hectic on yesterday's live for those that tuned in. You know what I mean? So we're gonna try to have a little bit more parliamentary procedure this time. Cause things got a little bit crazy. Um, I wanted to go more into that the Floyd Mayweather Jr. pay-per-view buys because I'm honestly shocked that it sold 1 million pay-per-view buys, and I want to get other people's opinions as to what do they attribute the success of that. What's good, Tone? What's good, Shadow? Because I honestly myself I didn't expect it to hit 1 million. I really didn't. Not 1 million. It looked like the numbers was good, but I didn't know if it was gonna hit 1 million. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, so hold up. You can sell 1 million pay-per-view buys on pay-per-view these days, which kind of begs the question, if you can still do that, why Javante Davis ain't doing it? Why hasn't Errol done it? Why hasn't Wilder done it? Why haven't the Charlo brothers done it? Because they've been on pay-per-view. Was goody Quentin, was goody Ice, Mark was good, Leo was good, Gary was good. I'm like, if you could, it's like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's kind of like, yo, so hold up. You telling me that more people were interested in Floyd's exhibition match than, say, Spence versus Garcia, Mikey and Danny? You telling me more people was interested in that? You telling me that more people was interested in Floyd versus Logan Paul than the Charlo doubleheader? That's what that means. I'm gonna get some people's opinions on this. I want to get everybody in on this conversation because we kind of deviated from it yesterday. We was just all over the place last night, but I want to get people's opinions on this. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, yo, this it's not that it's bad for boxing. I don't think Floyd's exhibition matches are bad for boxing, but I think it's not a good look for this generation's fighters that like, yo, you telling me an exhibition match with no outcome against a YouTuber gets more of the paying public's attention than your fight. Mark was good.
Hello, how are you? How are you?
Fucking annoyed. Otherwise good. Um, and what do you make of that, Mark? That this dude so like do you think? Because I don't think it's bad for boxing. I still don't think it's bad for I don't think it affects boxing, but I think that there's like a message in there that like, yo, dog, this dude's exhibition match got way more attention than your real fight. You see what I mean?
I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. First of all, the million that's only been reported by Coppinger so far, right?
I mean, that's the only place I've seen it.
Yeah, so we're not 100% sure. Other people have reported 600K. Coppinger's reported a million. You know as well as I do, Coppinger's known for inflating numbers. It
That's
could be
true.
a million, but we're not 100% sure. But let's say it is a million. Where does that come from? From my own perspective, I would probably say it comes from the idea of celebrity, fame. That's the reality here. Floyd, a former fighter, very well known name. If you look at the Charlos and look at the comparison, you can't even begin it. And then Logan, he's a celebrity. He's very famous. I mean, the dude across all platforms has something like 30 million subscribers and followers and all of this crap. And then the price point is also cheaper. It's
That's
$50 instead of
that's a good point.
75 or 79.99. And then if you include taxes, the more money you go up, the more money you have to pay in tax. So
I want. Let me ask Quentin. Let me ask Quentin. Quentin, do you feel? Do you feel like obviously the pay per view market? If these numbers check out, because to Mark's point, that's very true. I don't even know that we could really trust Mike, but I choose to because look, it's out there. And if I don't know better, I don't know better. So I'm gonna just go with face value.
Right.
Do you feel that Floyd doing 1 million with a YouTuber is kind of makes it's not I don't think it's bad for the sport, but do you feel like it makes the young fighters look bad? They're like, damn, dog, y'all had pay-per-views, y'all had y'all opportunities, and you can't blame it on nothing. You can't blame it on the pandemic because them UFC pay-per-views sold. You can't blame it on this and that. It's just that you're not a star. That's what it is because Floyd's still doing numbers with an exhibition match. Do you feel like that makes this generation's fighters look bad? That an exhibition match gets more attention than they real fights?
I mean, yeah, definitely to a certain extent, because I mean, you think about the Mike Tyson Roy Jones Jr. pay-per-view that was last year. I mean, that did great numbers too, right? But that's because those are world-known names. Those are people that are not just known by boxing fans. That's people that's known just by the regular people walking down the street that don't tune into boxing, but maybe once a year. You really sit and you think about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not really any shame in being a smaller star than Floyd, but you got to realize, you know, these dudes today walking around like, you know, I am the next dude, but it's like, you about a third of him, really, because you think about if they do 1 million, I mean, what's the best pay-per-view on PBC in the last couple of years? What, that Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia fight? What was that, 360? So
well,
that's
I think
that's a third of what they really talking about here.
The closest that a recent pay-per-view came to hitting 1 million pay-per-view buys was Wilder Fury 2. They supposedly sold between 800 and 850,000. Right. I don't look at that as a success because they admitted they lost money on that. So you never heard nobody complaining about losing money after a Floyd fight. You never heard that. But Bruce Trampler said they lost money on that fight. And we've talked about why 1 million times. So that's not the point. The real point is it's like you got so many guys that model their careers after Floyd. Yet after all these years, he can draw more people with a fake fight, it's an exhibition match.
Yeah.
Than you can with what you're doing. So shouldn't you question what it is you're doing? Because go ahead.
Yeah, bro, that's like asking somebody to be honest with themselves. The hardest thing for anybody to do, right, is to be honest with yourself enough to say, you know what I've been doing, I've been out here talking all this shit. I've been out here telling people, yo, I'm the next Floyd, I'm the man, I'm the boogeyman of the division, whatever else. But in reality, it's like, bro, what I'm doing is not working because I'm capping out at, for most people, if you exclude the Wilder Fury rematch, 300,000 buys.
Yep.
You know? Wilder does 300,000 buys maybe on his own. The only reason that fight even did 1 million, in my opinion, because they paid all that money to do those ads during the Super Bowl last year.
Yep.
On ESPN constantly. They had it on First Take. They interviewed him, talked about the fight for like 2 or 3 months. So that's really where they lost all the money. It was investing in all the promotion that went into it because they knew that it was going to be a big fight, but they put so much money into trying to get people to buy it that ultimately you end up losing money on the backside because those dudes are not household names. Fury doesn't do 500,000 buys on his own, and neither does Wilder. If you can't do that on your own, you know you're not going to make a whole lot of money on an $80 pay-per-view.
Exactly. I'm going to take it to Mark because I didn't ask him that portion of the question. Do you feel like it in some ways reflects poorly on this generation's fighters that you still rely on yesterday's fighters? That Floyd's retired, you know? Manny got one foot out the fucking door. So if the pay-per-view's a success with Errol, we already know that, well, Manny ain't going to stick around. Does it reflect poorly on this generation's fighters that the old generation is still more popular?
No, because I think every generation that comes after another generation is always superseded by it as times go on. I feel if you go through like the entire history of it, like Jack Johnson was superseded by Lewis, who was superseded by Ali, who was nearly impossible to supersede. Along came Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson supersedes everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been that way since the 80s, 90s, and whatever, and none of these guys are touching that level of fame anymore. I do think it's a poor reflection on the sport overall. Not that Floyd can do these pay-per-view numbers, but that these guys aren't doing the graft to get to that stage. That's where I feel is where it is, because they're not putting in the work to become household names. The reality of it is, no matter what anybody wants to say about Floyd, every person who's watched boxing over the last 30 years knows who the man is. Even if they've just seen one snippet, they know who he is. So he is one of the most famous people in our sport for the last 30 years. Charlo and everything like that. If I walked outside and said, what do you think of Charlo? They'd be like, who's that Spanish cat? That's what they'd ask me.
All right.
They'd ask me what football team he plays for.
I want to ask a separate question because it pertains to this. I thought about Errol Pacquiao, and I wondered, well, a lot of people feel Errol going to win the fight. Some people don't, but some people think he will. I'm thinking, if he does he ascend? We know what happened between Floyd and Oscar. He fought him. That was the platform. After that, he was a bigger name for it. Does that happen with Errol if he beats a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao? I can't come up. I'm thinking because it's not like Highlander where you cut the guy's head off and you get all his fucking powers. You beating Manny don't mean you're gonna get all them fans.
That's at Highlander, From my point of view, no, Julius. Because I feel as though more people looked at Oscar as being in his prime and lost in quite a while, whereas like Manny's been on an up and down slate. And now it's been 2 years since he's been in the eye of the public in the ring. Last time out, it was Keith Thurman. So people will still know he can still do things. But then there's more boxing fans nowadays who are able to come on publicly and talk and give their points of view on the sport. And they're telling people the reality. It's not like, oh, Keith Thurman was in his prime. No, Keith Thurman was coming off of a layoff, got fucked up in a fight with Josecito Lopez, managed to scrape through, and then Manny struggled with him himself. Yeah, he dropped them, but the points were close. And then it's 2 years after that, so how good was Thurman? Whereas with Oscar, there wasn't any of that going on. Oscar was still deemed the household guy. And whilst Manny, we look at him as a legend, it's not like Manny's numbers are up in the 800Ks anymore.
That's true.
Or the 900Ks or the millions. It's 300 and 500, which are solid numbers. Considering Broner and Thurman, the 500K is really good. 500,000 pay-per-view buys, especially for considering he's the draw in that fight and he's not from the United States. It's still phenomenal numbers. But the reality, if you look at the situation, is boxing overall has stalled. People's interest in Manny Pacquiao was at a pivotal high because he was the man to beat Mayweather. That's where it was. And now his popularity, it didn't dwindle within his fan base, but on the overall casual fan base, it slightly has.
I wanna answer this question from Drew. I'm gonna take it to Quentin and I'm gonna take it to you. Beating Manny is a payday and a belt. Manny is not the A side he was 10 years ago. That's to your point, Mark. Does beating this Manny make Spence a Hall of Famer? No. Do you agree with that, Quentin?
Yeah, on the surface level, just beating Manny, if he retires the day after that, I don't know that automatically gets him in. I mean, if you look at just the Hall of Fame process, right, and you look at the list of guys that sit on that list for years and years and years, I mean, it's not automatic that he's going to get in.
I agree because James Toney didn't get in. The last time they did the shit, James Toney and I think Ricardo Mayorga didn't get in. So it's not like a lot of people think it's easy to get in that shit, but it's not. It's not. You have to do something major. And I know a lot of people love to bring up the Mickey Ward versus Gaddy fight, but they in there for the fight. You understand? They literally in there for that fight, not individually. They're there for that fight because that was a major fight. It's a fight that people still bring up today. Ultimately, I don't know that Errol. I don't think Keith is going to go to the Hall of Fame at all. I don't think Danny's going to go to the Hall of Fame at all. I don't think Sean is. Mark, if he beats Manny in this upcoming fight, does that get him in the Hall of Fame?
They're going to put him in, yeah.
You think they will?
Put him in. If you don't believe me, all you need to do, and you've been around the Twitter boards as much as I have, is take a look at the boxing writers and who vote on the Hall of Fame, what their thoughts are on Errol Spence and where they're rating him prematurely in the pound for pound list, in the Ring magazine list, how they are hyping him, how they have been hyping him, putting him in the top 10 pound for pound with one win against a Kell Brook coming off of a loss. I mean, they've been overrating Errol for a long time in the writer community. So you
think they get him in there the same way he's being overrated now? You think they get him in the Hall of Fame just off? Because I think it's cyclical, and I mentioned this in a video. I don't have any faith that Crawford and Spence will happen. What I think happens if he beats Manny, he goes to 54, and when he goes to 54, Mel goes to 60, Maul goes to 68. That's what I think is going to happen.
I said that a long time ago too. Yeah.
It's a carousel, bro, because all you're going to end up doing is if Spence fights Crawford, he's just threatening his own legacy.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the situation. If he fights Crawford and he looks ordinary but scrapes by, it's like, okay, well, you're not as good as you said you was because you barely beat a dude that everybody this whole time during this negotiation, during this back and forth, has been saying he don't deserve this kind of split. He ain't that good. He hasn't fought nobody. He hasn't beat nobody. And you barely scraped by him like he barely scraped by Porter. It's like, okay, well then how good are you really? If he loses to him, he certainly loses all credibility. Plus, he's not going to be able to say, oh, well, I'm the top dog when I move up. Obviously, he moves up in the same way that Danny is because he doesn't have a choice now. If he loses to Crawford, he's going to move up. If he doesn't fight Crawford, he's going to move up regardless because he's not going to have anywhere else to go. And that's part of the problem I see is like, bro, he wants to have everything go his way just in order to get the fight to get made. But does he really want the fight, though?
No, he look. Before I pass it to Battle, I'm gonna say this. I don't have no faith in that because think about it this way. Let's say that pay-per-view with Manny does 800,000 to $1 million, right? You make all this fucking money. Why the fuck would you gamble that on Crawford? If you see what I mean, it would be like backwards. Like you ain't fighting this whole time, and then you get the Pacquiao fight. If that fight sells $1 million, you in a situation where like I'm not going to take a risk on him because that fight ain't going to do $1 million. It ain't going to do $1 million. It'll do good, but it ain't going to do $1 million. So why would I do that when I could go to 54 and who he fights at 54? I don't know, honest to God, because Errol not big for 54. He not like them guys like Jared Hurd, even though he look bad. They real bigger than him. Tony Harrison is a lot bigger than him. Brian Castano, I think he'll give him a run for his money because
Mel's a lot bigger. A lot of them are a lot bigger than him, bro. J-Rock's a lot bigger than Spence.
I don't know, man, because honest to God, the standout fighter in the division who just looks huge compared to everybody else is Jared Hurd, and he might move up after that.
I mean, look, Jared, when it comes to Jared, I don't even know what to say because
he might retire.
Hey, dog, like. I don't like. I'm not trying to be like an asshole. It's just that like, yo, dog, like that was 60. That wasn't 54. That was 60. So you didn't have to cut that extra. You didn't have to cut the extra weight, and you still look like flat. Like, why does he look flat? This should be a better weight for you.
That's the danger of talking about a fight that you want after this fight before you finish the fight you got. I just finished seeing a couple of days ago before the fight happened that he did an interview where he was talking about he wants Mel. It's like, bro, you got a fight coming up, right? And I know it's annoying when these fighters are doing these media week interviews and stuff like that, where they got people asking them, well, what you want after this fight or what you want to do after this fight if you win this one, da 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 da. But bro, the best and the smartest way to go about it is to just answer the questions about the guy you got in front of you. Eat breakfast before lunch, bro.
I mean, I agree. I do agree with that, but I think it's a little deeper with Jared because I feel like they fucked him up as a fighter. I always felt, and I think the same thing about Munguia in the sense that look, Jared is a tall guy for his weight, like Munguia is a tall guy for his weight.
Good fight, by the way.
That's a great fight, but Eric Morales has it right. He not trying to turn Jaime into a jabber and a mover. He focusing like these is the things that you good at, so that's what we going to sharpen up. Whereas with Jared, I seen him. I think he started training under K. Karoma, and I seen him go out there throwing jabs, and the shit just looked fucking like, yo, that's not what you do, bro. Do what you good at. Even though you tall and you got a lot of reach and you got a lot of height, you a pressure fighter. You an inside fighter. So be that because that's what works. That's what was working for you. Just sharpen that shit up. And I feel like they fucked him up as a fighter. Cause like nah, bro. Like if you would have stuck to what you was good at and sharpened that up, focus on angles in the pocket, getting around a guy, getting to the side of a guy, but still being close to him, he probably would have won the Julian Williams fight. That shit blew my mind that Julian Williams beat the shit out of him like that. Cause he beat you in your sweet spot. It's not like he beat you from long distance, sticking and moving. He did to you what you like to do to people, but he beat you at it. It went wrong with that dude, man.
Yeah, man. I think
no, I don't see it like that, Ring.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I don't feel like that, Ring. He was just more experienced as far as at that level of the game. I'm not saying that he's going to take a bunch of punches on the chin like like Jared Hurd will, but he knew how to switch them corners. He knew how to do that shoulder buck and throw that little left hook right hand. He was just more experienced in that inside work than Jared Hurd. Jared Hurd usually. Go ahead.
Battle, I'm gonna say this. Look, think about the people that he had fought. Think about the people that Hurd fought, right? Before he fought Julian Williams. He fucking fought Lara. He fucking fought Austin Trout.
Nathan Gallimore.
He fucking fought Nathaniel Gallimore. He fought Tony Harrison. I think he fought Willie Monroe. Not Willie Monroe. What's this tall guy, man? Willie Nelson. I think he fought Willie Nelson. Was that him?
Did he?
No, he didn't fight Willie Nelson. I got him confused. But his quality of competition, his quality of competition was actually a lot better than Julian Williams' competition leading up to that fight.
Facts. But when you talk about people's style, man, like, unfortunately for these inside pressure fighters, sometimes changing them is the word, like you were saying, Julius. Sometimes the worst thing to do is to change them. You just got to accept the fact that your career ain't going to be that long.
Yeah.
Most of the career you're going to have, you're going to have these solid 5 years, maybe, to get what you can get out of it. And you're not going to be one of those dudes that fights for 10, 12 years at the top. You're just not going to be able to do it because of your style and the way you go about things. And you just got to be okay with that. The hardest thing to do once you get to the pro game, from what I could tell, is to change your game completely. And that's what makes the whole thing and this idea that people have about Deontay Wilder's just going to come out and just do something completely different. It's like, bro, he's mid-30s now. How's he going to turn around and do something completely different than he's never done before, with no major amateur background, no skill set to prove that he could do that? That doesn't make much sense to me why people would think, oh.
Now, Quentin, you addressing a point that I have made many times.
Great point.
You addressing a point that I've made many times, that depending on what happens, it looks a certain way based on the science of boxing. Just like you said, this man is in his mid-30s. He's been a professional boxer for 13 years, over 40 fights, fighting the same fucking fight. And you telling me that this is the guy that we expecting to go out there and do something completely different? You got to
training camp with a dude who he beat.
That's what I'm saying. Now, if you think about it in that context, that look, based on logic, Fury should win based on just plain old motherfucking logic. So if he don't win, I feel like something fishy. The whole situation, the way it all broke down and putting it all together. And I don't want to spend too much time on that because did that shit last night. But I'm like, yo, it's bizarre, dog. The whole thing is bizarre. You said you pulled this man out of retirement. What do you mean by that? What do you mean? Remember, he said that. And I'm like, you pulled him out of retirement. When did that happen? Because when he came out with a he had 2 fights. I'm like, when you pull him out of retirement, what you telling me is y'all linked up, and I told Battle this yesterday. Y'all linked up and y'all had a conversation and like, look, you still got an O, you still got a name. Let's get this money together and fuck Anthony Joshua. Fuck him. Fuck him. We don't need him. We have each other. Fuck him.
If I remember right, bro, didn't they announce that they were going to do that fight the week that AJ was about to fight Ruiz? Isn't that the week that they announced that fight? The first one? Well, the first fight was in December. I think they announced it the week that AJ was fighting Ruiz the first time.
Yeah. That was I keep forgetting it. That was the same year.
Yeah. So bro, what about the first time they announced that that they were gonna have a fight, bro? It's like, come on, man! Like y'all are literally just hopping on this dude's bandwagon, riding his wave to figure out what y'all gonna do. And honestly, I think the same thing would have happened if AJ had a fight sooner. If his fight with Usyk hadn't already been dragging along as long as it was going, I honestly think they would have done the same thing this time. With as soon as AJ comes out with his fight date, they would have had their fight date for the third fight. The only reason they couldn't do that is because they got to get it passed by that certain date or whatever that arbitrator said. What did they say? September 15th? I mean, look,
like I said, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because to me, I'm at a point where I don't have no more stock in that. The heavyweight division has a lot of fights that I'm looking forward to. As far as what happens with Undisputed, I firmly believe it won't happen. So don't get mad the way we've been mad about Spence and Crawford. Don't even waste your time. Don't get your blood pressure up. It's not going to happen. Make peace with it now. Because the only way we get Undisputed is if Fury wins. I honestly feel that way. If he wins, maybe we get it. If he don't win, and I don't think he's going to win. I don't. I think Wilder's going to win. They're going to focus on making in-house fights. They're going to focus on Wilder versus Ruiz and Wilder versus Martin and Wilder versus Otto Verleen because they can sell those fights. It ain't going to be for a lot. You probably only going to do like 325, 400,000, but that's what they going to do. Why would we risk our 36-year-old heavyweight with AJ so he could fuck around and lose? And then what do we got? Who's going to take the reins? Top Rank has Jared Anderson. I think he's the motherfucking future. But who's the future over there, PBC? Frankie Sanchez? And look at that.
This is a shock to me, Ring. This is a shock to me, Ring. You think Wilder's going to win?
I've said that already, bro. I think it's scripted.
Yeah, based on script, bro. Which one you think is actually going to be more?
I thought you. Go ahead.
You think it's more likely that the welterweight undisputed fight happens or the heavyweight undisputed fight happens? Which one you think is more likely?
Heavyweight.
I would say no. I don't think heavyweight. I would say welterweight before heavyweight. Welterweight before heavyweight. It depends because with welterweight, I look at that as a situation to where, let's say the pay-per-view doesn't do 1 million. It does, let's say 700,000. That's a modest number. You gotta be modest after that. They're like, look, if we want to make money off of Errol, we ain't gonna make no money off of Errol and versus some random dude at 154.
His best option if he stays on this side of the street.
I mean, can you say the same deal with Tyson Fury and AJ?
What you mean?
Well, you're saying basically if Errol Spence does the whole 154 route, he basically ain't gonna really get no money yet fighting these 154 pounders. Well, can't you see that's the same deal with Tyson Fury and AJ?
Nah, because there's something different. There's something different in that situation. That all right? Look at heavyweight, right? What you got to focus on is you want content for Fox. You want content for Fox. You got to deliver them fights that are going to give you numbers so you could keep that deal. You could do that with Wilder. You actually could do that. Wilder versus Ruiz does numbers. That shit does numbers. Like, and you know I don't like Wilder, but that shit does numbers, especially if he knock him out. And I said that a couple of months ago that Wilder could redeem himself by knocking Ruiz out because Ruiz ain't never been knocked out. Even when AJ beat him, you didn't knock him out.
You know that's
nobody thinks Parker really won that fight in New Zealand. Nobody really think that. Everybody say the same thing, that if that fight was in Texas, Ruiz would have got the fucking decision. So if Wilder can knock him out, he becomes a bigger fighter after that, and it'll create an environment where his fans will say, yo, he don't got to fight AJ. He just knocked out Ruiz. He don't got to fight AJ. That's what's good. That's what could happen.
And that's the part about the game, bro. It's like you fight somebody who beat the dude that's your main rival, right? When you talk about AJ, and fans start to think, oh, that means he doesn't have to fight him. To me, it's like, nah, bro, I want to see them fight more now. If he knocked out Ruiz, who's never been knocked out before, I'm like, bro, put them in the ring together so we can see if he would do the same thing to somebody his same size. We know that Wilder has a problem with people that are around his size. It takes him longer to knock people out when they're more his size. He has an issue with people that weigh more than him. That's a natural fight to make if he ends up getting his belt back and fighting Ruiz before he gets to fight AJ. Naturally, I'm going to want to see him fight AJ just purely based off of intrigue, just based off of the fact that you know that if you slip up, he could knock your ass out too. And that's the problem. He doesn't want to face that. I want
to see it for that. I want to see it for that same reason. But boxing in America has become a gimmick. It's literally becoming like real gimmicky and shit. Like, oh well, I'm not gonna risk. See, we talked about this yesterday, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But it's more beneficial for the PBC to keep him where he at and make fights for him. Because if he goes over there to Matchroom or whatever, and something happens, what do we got after that? Who's our next guy after that? We ain't got shit after that. We ain't gonna sell shit without nothing against Otto Verleen, but I'm saying, like, you're not gonna turn a Swede into a pay-per-view star here in America. You're not gonna do that. So it's a situation. It's risks, rewards. Yes, there's a lot of money involved in an AJ fight. There's a lot of money involved, but in the long run, do we really want that? We want to maintain our relationship with Fox. In order to do that, we need content. So we more focused on our content than making big fights. Now,
Man, I, I,
go ahead,
I
Battle.
was I was just on a live stream with the people who I was referring to. They was talking They was talking basketball, and I'm not as big on basketball. I don't know as much as they do. So they was talking about where does these basketball players stand. And the thing is, you realize how short the conversations become when you realize that hey, they always going to face the best competition every year. It's just that where do you end up at the end of the year? But a lot of times with boxing, when I'll tell people this person's better than this person, and then we'll have this conversation. They'll be like, "Well, why didn't he fight this person? Why did he fight this person?" I'll be like, "Bro, I don't know what to tell you, bro. It's a lot. It's a
No,
lot
I
of stuff."
mean, Battle, I said that shit yesterday that when I was on my MLB shit and my NFL shit, the conversations was different because these is numbers games. Like the numbers is gospel, the numbers. Whereas in boxing, it get fucking weird. Let me address Midwest. He says they could put AJ versus Wilder on Fox so they could still get the content. I would agree with you if Fox were willing to stake the kind of money it takes to make that fight, but
So
they're not.
there you go. And the other problem too is you got to think about it from AJ's perspective. After his next fight with Sky, right? More than likely, I'm assuming he's gonna sign a long term, or he's gonna do a fight by fight deal with Eddie to do his fights on DAZN. If he does that, his fights are gonna be worldwide. He's gonna make more money on an app that everybody shits and talks shit about, right? He's gonna make more money fighting on an app because his fights are gonna be seen in Asia, Africa, South America, North America, everywhere around the globe. To try to box him in and say, okay, we'll put your fight on Fox PPV is like, bro, how much money are you really paying me? Because what's the biggest purse that Fox has put out on a fight?
Exactly.
Wilder to rematch, what they got, like 30 million each? That ain't nothing to AJ. AJ makes that on a standard Saturday night fight night against Carlos Takam.
Thank you, because that's what I was going. That if that was a solution, if I viewed that as a solution, then I would still have hope that the fight could happen, regardless of who wins in July. I would still have hope. But the situation I see is, even if Eddie says, "Look, you can have the rights for the fight in America, we've got the rights for the fight everywhere else in the world," right? You tell yourself that's a good environment to do the fight. What's the problem? What kind of guarantee is Fox willing to put up for AJ? How invested are they really? Because this man got $85 million for a Ruiz rematch. He was set to get $75 million up front from the Saudis. Are you guys going to put up that kind of money for that fight? And unless you're going to do it, I bet you it don't happen. I bet you it don't. Because that dude is used to getting paid just to the point that Quentin made. That dude get that kind of money for Takams and Pulevs and Povetkins. He get 30 mil for them kind of fights. Those regular run-of-the-mill fucking purses for him. That shit ain't shit to him. So you got to put the money up. And if it's more money on the DAZN matchroom side of things, Wilder's not going to cross the street. We already been here before. He's not going to do it.
He didn't take 120 mil for a 3-fight deal to take Brazil in 2 AJ fights. He ain't taking nothing else from them. I mean, if people really want to sit and think about the whole Fox PPV thing, it's like, bro, those are great for people that are middle of the road fighters who don't have a major network to fight on. If it's somebody that's already with another network, it doesn't make any sense for them to go to Fox to do a pay-per-view unless they already know I got a guarantee of an X amount of money. It's the same issue that people were talking about with the whole Sean Porter not taking the Crawford fight. You only made $2 million to fight Spence when you were a champion.
Exactly.
How are you going to expect to make 3 times that when you're not a champion? You have no belt. You have no money coming in with your buys to expect that from somebody else when you just want a title shot. These American pay-per-views don't do that many big numbers if you're not a big name. And just because it's your favorite fighter doesn't make them a big name. That's just your favorite fighter.
It's like Errol is a bigger name than Crawford, right? And with Errol, you got $2 million up front. With Errol, he's a bigger name than Crawford. So if Crawford's not a bigger name than Errol, why do you expect more money with Crawford than what you got up front with Errol? That don't make sense. And what that tells me is ultimately you don't want the fight. You don't like your chances. You want all this compensation. Like if you feel that, I could go to Top Rank and beat that fucking dude, I take the hit because when I come back, I'm going to have a bout. I'm gonna have a. That's what they did with Jose Ramirez. They let him go to Matchroom. They put him in there with like, we'll let him go over there to Matchroom. They got $4 million. Let him go get that $4 million because we believe that he can win. They could have hardballed it like, no, we want 8. No, we want like, no, get the fucking belt, get the shit. And what happened? He got $4 million. He got a belt.
Imagine just for the sake of this argument that Virgil Ortiz is the champion and Errol Spence, and people want Errol Spence to fight Virgil Ortiz. Imagine what people would be saying if Errol Spence like, yeah, you're gonna have to take an 80-20 split. They could be like, huh? What type of crap? What type of bull is you on, bro?
I mean, to me, I don't know, because shit is so wild right now. I don't really know what's gonna happen at 147. It's kind of a mess. But Virgil could see himself becoming a champion, I think, at 154 after Jermell moves up. All them belts is gonna go vacant. Tim Zoo's gonna get the WBO. That's what it looked like. Errol probably move up and get the WBC or the IBF, one of them, and Virgil fuck around, move up and get another one. And then that's gonna be the next cycle of junior middleweights. Because I'm like, I don't see how you get. I don't really either. You get a vacant one at 47, which is possible after Spence moves up, or you get a vacant one at 154. But it's gonna be a vacant one. It ain't gonna be no fight. It'll be that you picked up a vacant title. It ain't gonna be no fight.
You think Virgil Ortiz can beat people like the Tony Harrisons, Castanos, and
yeah, because you can't really tell on TV, but he's not little. That dude is 5'10", 5'11" at 150 at 147.
Sure.
He's not a little dude. Like if you would have to stand Danny Garcia and Virgil Ortiz next to him to get the scale of the side. They're like, them dudes is little, man. They 5'7", 5'6". Those dudes is little dudes. That dude, he could
Well,
probably.
I don't know about Virgil though, Julius. Virgil's not that small. Virgil's pretty big.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Mark. That Danny is little, and Danny is little, and Thurman is little, but Virgil, he'll fill out just fine at 154. And the other shit is he's mad young, so he definitely won't fill out.
Oh, he's probably going to end up at 160 or above, man. He'll end up at 160 towards the end of his career. 168. He's huge.
Yeah. That they did with bro. They put him in that same mode with Canelo. He'll move up 3 or 4 divisions. Eventually, by the time he gets comfortable, I see him capping out at like 160, like you were saying, man. Like,
yeah,
he got 2 more divisions he could go up easy.
Like, I don't think he'll pick up a belt at 147 unless one becomes vacant. But the other thing you got to think about is too, right? Look, you Golden Boy, you Eric Gomez. Do you really want to put Virgil in there with Crawford? Do you really? Nah, come on, man. For what?
Baker they got left because Queen Ryan, dog.
Like, and that's
he's so hit and miss, bro. He has so much talent, but he's wasting it on bullshit, dog. Like he's wasting it on Twitter beefs and talking and not fighting and baby mama drama and all of this other stuff that's got him all.
Who are you talking about?
You talking about Ryan?
Because he was really their main dude, right? He was supposed to be their main dude. Soon as he went off the map and started tripping out, what's the first thing Oscar says? Oh, you guys can watch a real fighter, Virgil Ortiz, on blah 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 day. I think that was last year during.
Yeah, I remember that when they was throwing shade at Ryan. Right. And with Ryan, if you pay attention, every time he about to have a fight, there's a problem. There's a problem with the purse or something always be wrong. It's like, bro, you're not even a champion yet. You a contender. You literally just became a contender, and you always got a problem. He fuck around, might retire at 26. I'm like, yo, this dude always got you got to have all these problems for Luke Campbell and Romero Duno. You got to have all these problems. You got to pull out on Linares. You don't reschedule the fight so you can fight a dude that he beat. That's wild. Like the way he moving, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I would say, look, I don't know that he could beat Devin Haney. I'm not gonna say that he can. I'm going to just say that if he really plan on having a career, now is the time to get Devin. Why? Devin just got frazzled by Linares. So get him now, because when he get to 140, he going to be more solid. He going to grow.
Devin's younger than Ryan, isn't he? Devin's younger than Ryan, right?
Yeah, he is. I think he like a year younger than Ryan.
Yeah, so that's bad news considering Ryan's whole style isn't based off of boxing skill. It's based off of counterpunching and hitting really quickly. Devin is only going to improve with boxing. He's only because that's all he's focused on is becoming a better boxer.
I agree.
Mhm.
Like I think that he could. I think that. Like I'm gonna say this: the knockout of Fonseca, that one kind of impressed me because he knocked him smooth out, and I'm like, wow, it take real power to do that. The way he knocked him out, he's like he got power, but it's like you missing so much of his shit. Like so many people, Mark and Lennox, they said it for months before the Campbell fight. Yo, that kid keep leaving his fucking chin in the air. Somebody gonna touch that shit, and he gonna get dropped. That's exactly.
I called it for months. Leave it as Roy had down and his chin in the fucking air. Amir Khan 2.0. And that's what he is. And to be honest, I don't think he's going to have anywhere near the same level of career Amir had. People make a joke of Amir, but considering he had no chin, that motherfucker had a hell of a career.
No, he did. He did.
Unified champion. Beat Danny Garcia.
Well, he didn't beat Danny. He didn't beat Danny.
Danny knocked his ass out, bro. No look, left hook.
Yeah, he lost to Danny Garcia. He was winning that fight, though. He was winning.
I'll say I don't honestly. If I look at Ryan, and maybe I'm being pessimistic, I could be wrong, but I really just don't see a dude. He has the potential to be like an Oscar, but Oscar, yo, for all his fishnets and all his shit, that dude was a fucking fighter, bro. That dude, he's a tough dude.
Here's the thing, though, Julius. I seen it instantly with the Luke Campbell thing. He don't have any of Oscar in him because when Oscar ever got dropped or hurt and got back up, he didn't back away and the other guy backed away. Oscar went into the trenches and dug deep. That's what made Oscar so enjoyable to the fan and the casual and helped him cross over. Was not only did he have that pretty boy look, but he was actually a fucking savage in the ring. He didn't give up. He didn't give up.
And Oscar, like Oscar, look, we shit on Oscar a lot, and I still fucking hate him. Don't get me wrong, like I still hate him.
Can't stand him. Hell of a fighter.
He's a hell of a fucking fighter. Like that Oscar that was in the welterweight division with Felix Trinidad in this welterweight division, bruh, he'll mop the floor with a lot of you can't put Keith.
I'd actually, Julius, I know people have fans and loyalties and all this. Right now in today's landscape, prime Oscar at 147, I'd pick him to steamroll through the division. I think he's too big as well.
Yeah, he is because Oscar wasn't little.
Oscar was 5'10", 5'10 and a half.
Yeah, Oscar wasn't little. Neither was Felix. Felix was like 5'11". Oscar was like 5'10". Those today's welterweights, most people don't realize that these dudes is mad little. Like they not as tall as Leonard was.
They don't hit like Tito does. They don't hit like no Tito, bro.
Like remember, we saw Spence.
Most welterweights don't hit like Tito does. That's probably one of the hardest welterweight hitters in history. I'm
just saying that these is not big guys, Badou. That's all I'm saying. That there's been big welterweights. The previous generation of welterweights, not the one before this, but before that, they was bigger. Like they was literally bigger guys than these guys. Danny is like 5'7.5". Keith is like 5'7". Sean Porter's like 5'6".
Well, we've been having. I think it's. Go ahead.
I think that speaks a little bit more to the discipline of previous generation fighters, right? Because if you think about a dude who's 5'10", who for the early part of his career can squeeze himself into a 140 or 147 frame, right? To have fights for what? How long did Oscar fight at 147? Like five or 6 years before he didn't move up until after the Trinidad fight, right? Because that Trinidad fight was at welterweight.
Don't forget, Oscar was a 130-pounder.
Right. Yeah, he debuted because he moved up to welterweight. Him and Felix.
So I think that really just speaks to the lack of lifestyle and the guys we're talking about.
Crazy.
Kind of at the top of the welterweight division right now, especially at least on the PBC side, which I know, Julius, this is something you've even mentioned. Is like, bro, like all of these dudes got lifestyle issues when it comes to stuff that they're doing outside of the ring. And it's easy for us to say because we're not fighters, but bro, you getting paid millions of dollars to do this. You should be able to keep your weight down, fam, between fights so that you can stay at a weight that's best for you. Danny Garcia, 5'7", moving up to 154.
Exactly.
A horrible idea. Exactly. You're not beating anybody at that weight. You're just doing that because you're lazy, dog.
Exactly. That's the same shit I said. That it's like, bro, Danny is too little for somebody to tell me that he outgrew welterweight. No, you didn't outgrow welterweight. You just don't want to keep making it. You think. And bear in mind, this is a dude, you went 12 rounds with Ivan Redkach and he bit you. Like, you're not going to do nothing to nobody at 150. Unless they putting you in there with 140-pounders and moving them up to 154, you're not going to do nothing with nobody up there. Brian Castano will fuck him up. Patrick Teixeira will fuck him up. Real good. Danny, when the last time he knocked somebody out?
I think it was Vargas, wasn't it? or was it Granados?
Danny?
I don't know.
Granados,
Yeah, I think it was Vargas
Adrian
or
Granados was
Granados.
his last stoppage.
Yeah, you're right.
Adrian.
It was Granados. It was Granados.
But Granados is not a real welterweight. Granados used to be down there at 140 for a good amount of the time. He's not a real welterweight. And Red Catch, Red Catch got knocked out at 35 and 40. But he goes up there with Danny. He goes the distance.
You don't think
I guess the last person he properly knocked out was probably Rios, wasn't it?
Brandon Rios.
Oh, yeah, actually, you're right. It probably was Rios.
Yo, matter of fact, I took it. I even forgot. Regis made this. I look at it as a quit. Like, we know that he faked the nut shot, that he didn't actually get hit on the dick. He got hit on the ribs. But them straight left hands that he was landing, Regis leading up to that shit made Ivan want to quit.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't
No. You're wording it too kindly. The shots he was taking made him want to embarrass himself so much that he held his Jimmy Jam while being carried out on a stretcher, knowing full well he was talking bullshit. He knew. He knew.
And so the way I look at that is, okay, you got hit enough times by Regis, who really is a 140-pounder. You got hit enough times by that guy that you didn't want to be there. But with Danny, you didn't have to do none of that because you could take the punches. You could take Danny's punches. Regis, 140-pounder for the most part, that dude made you want to quit. That tell me what I need to know about Danny, the same way that Mikey Garcia and Spence fight told me what I need to know about Errol. They're like, look, you got volume, you got a good jab, you can move, you know how to not collapse the pocket to where you're not smothering your work. But you not what they say you are. Like you not no monster puncher. Nah.
No. Danny, look, I've always looked at Danny as being solid at 140, man. Like, he was good. He has a solid resume down there. But at welter, I can't, bro. I can't turn around and say this dude is a proven top-tier welter just because he had a title. His title resume is no more impressive than Wilder's title resume. It's not.
He won that belt off of Robert Guerrero when it was vacant, bro. He first moved up to 147. He got that off of Robert Guerrero.
The ghost of Robert Guerrero.
Wait. See, me personally, I don't mind so much. I don't mind
moving up stuff, bro. When you talk about like the laziness of these fighters, and you talk about like them not taking they out of fight training camps seriously. Low key, that's the same reason that Gervonta is doing what he's doing.
Yes.
Same reason.
Yes. And no, let me pass it to Battle. Only thing I want to say is this. I agree because Gervonta Davis does not have the frame for 140. Like he's a tree stump. He is mad little. He just
Julius, have we heard if there's a rehydration clause or a catch weight on that? Because that's going to be interesting on that Barrios betting line.
You telling me? I might have to put a little bit of money on Barrios because I'm like, yo, look, I know that Barrios is unheralded and I understand all of that, but they literally moving Davis because he's struggling. You should not be struggling to make lightweight. That's where you belong. That should be your best weight.
That's his cap. Like that's literally as high as he should be going at 5'5".
And he got that knockout over Leo at 130 in his last fight, right? But that's 10 pounds down, and it's Leo. Now maybe Barrios ain't as skilled as Leo, but he's a much bigger, harder hitting version of him. And Tank was getting tagged clean.
Yes, he was.
I don't know, bro. I think this dude might be going to sleep. I people keep calling me crazy, whatever. I don't see it, man. Unless there's a rehydration clause in there. If there's no rehydration clause and there's no weight limits here, Tank could be in serious shit. He could be in serious shit.
My guy, Manny Pacquiao. You can't stop hearing about the talks he had to have with Freddie Rocha. He had to alter his entire style just to move up in weight. Tank's not going to do that.
I dig it. What I'm gonna say is this. I don't know how invested they are. If I'm just looking at this financially, right? I'm Stefan Espinoza, or I'm the financier of all this shit. I'm like, yo, have I actually made money off a Tank? Because we've guarded this guy so carefully, kept him out of so many goddamn fights. And I said it last night. If you didn't want to fight Loma, all right, fine. I could forgive that. But you didn't fight Farmer. You didn't fight Pacquiao. You didn't fight Masayoshi Ito. You never even looked at Herring. You fought no one for 3 years. Why are we still spending money on this guy? We can't let him fight Teofimo. We can't let him. Like I still think Devin beats him. Call me crazy. That jab would take a lot of shit away. That jab from Devin would take a lot of shit away from Gervonta Davis.
Devin is 5'9.5".
Honestly, I think he would still beat Davis, but he spent like the whole time talking bad about Machado, saying he's not a real WBC champion, and you got my belt, and I basically whooped you in sparring or something. I think that's what he said, like something to that extent. But like,
but when you living off of sparring, it's like if it's the weirdest thing. Mike Tyson's sparring partner, it was what, Oliver McCall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you didn't hear Oliver talking about things that happened with Tyson in sparring and living off of shit like that. That's these cats doing that, living off of sparring matches.
And you want to know something funny about that ring? Like he realized at the time that Mike Tyson was still a kid. He was just like, okay, well let me give the guy the work because he know he's got a lot to learn. He realized that Mike Tyson was still a kid. He was probably like 18, 17 years old doing sparring matches.
You know something? That goes back to when sparring wasn't about making a name for yourself. Sparring was about both of y'all improving. That's what sparring's about. Y'all are training to become better fighters. Like when I watch that, you see Mike Tyson cutting the ring down on McCall. He's working on cutting the ring off. McCall's on the back foot, working his jab, hitting the uppercut. He's things that work for him well against Lennox. In the fourth way.
These days, people use sparring matches as a reason to not fight somebody. Like I think they brought up the sparring match between Davis and Teofimo, right? And my understanding is Davis got the better of the sparring match. That's my understanding. But my other understanding is Teofimo was actually very young. That shit wasn't recent. That was years ago. So I'm like, well, why the fuck is he bringing up a sparring match from years ago? If you gonna fight him today, you fight him today. We ain't talking about some shit from 3-4 years ago. You gotta if it's that easy, then take care of him. But it's not easy, and that's why it's not happening.
Remember when people were saying when Triple G was coming up that Triple G is the best at 160, he can move at 168 and whatnot, and people was jacking him so hard to say he'd beat Kovalev because apparently he knocked out Kovalev. He knocked out Kovalev in sparring. Like I don't know if you remember that. Like
I remember that. He was talking about how he knocked him out with a body shot.
I was like, bro, like what? Like, come on, man.
But listen, he fuck around did knock Sergey out with a body shot. That's not the point. Caleb Plant was calling you out. You ain't want to go up for him. James DeGale was calling you out. You ain't want to go up for him. Ultimately, I don't care about a sparring match. That ain't gonna make you a champion at 168. Sparring stories. Motherfuckers got sparring stories. Is Canelo Alvarez a heavyweight champ because he sparred Frankie Sanchez? No. So what the fuck are we talking about? That's just silly.
Actually, I've been hearing Canelo beating the brakes off of some of his sparring partners. For what I've been hearing, that's not even a person you really want to spar. He got to take it easy. He got to take it more easy than he normally does because he kind of been beating the brakes off of him. This is a while back I heard this, but you know, I think he has to take it easy.
Motherfucking David Lemieux spars. Well, he used to spar. I don't think he spars him anymore. But he used to spar Jean Pascal. That's sparring, bro. If you put David Lemieux at light heavyweight now, he'll get killed. He'll get fucking killed.
Too small.
Especially if you put him in there with Pascal right now, bro. Because that come on, man. That dude's
Tony Harrison
everything.
Sparred Vladimir, and that was actually on camera, I think.
All that sparring shit has turned into some petty shit that fighters use to try to like belittle somebody. Like sparring used to be sacred to where you don't even talk about it. You don't give those secrets away. Now, motherfuckers will post the whole video online.
Yeah. Honestly, you probably gonna think I'm crazy, but you want to know who probably started that? You know what? Go ahead. I'm gonna speak after you because you ain't even.
The reality of this whole PBC thing, man, is like you was talking about earlier. You mentioned that people use sparring as an excuse about why they shouldn't fight somebody. They use any excuse not to fight somebody. It could be that they ain't no name, they fight on an app, they ain't gonna pay me enough, and it's like, okay, once we check all these boxes off, it's like, oh well, he ain't fought nobody yet. It's like, okay, it's the same shit they doing with Andre, bro. It's like Charlo should have fought Andre like in 2019.
Yeah,
he should have fought Eubank last year. He should have fought so many people. And it's like his whole middleweight career is being wasted on excuses, bro. On excuses.
Did y'all watch the Montiel press conference, the live press conference yesterday? They did like an online Zoom call. Yo, Jamal looked depressed. And you gonna be depressed because nobody want to see that. Yeah, like nobody want to see that fucking fight, bro. And you could ham it up for the cameras and whatever. You know in your heart, nobody gives a fuck about that fight. Nobody.
Julius, you know what's annoying about it? I actually do like watching Charlo in the ring. I do actually enjoy watching his fight style. He's enjoyable to watch. He's got a good right hand, good jab, all this shit. I can't sit there and like excuse myself for taking time out of my life to go and sit down and watch Charlo fight a dude who got knocked out by Munguia at welterweight.
Exactly.
At welterweight.
Exactly. And Munguia
so that kind of shows that he doesn't even want to fight him either. He's not excited about it.
And Munguia, his time has come. Because it's like, yo, dog, like you just keep circling around the rim of the toilet. You circling, that's what Munguia doing. You want to fight everybody but the Charlos and the Ons. Like literally, you were supposed to get Gennady Golovkin. What happened? I feel like I don't know who fucked that up. I really don't. But I'm like, bro, like
you would have fucked up that Baumgartner Mayer fight.
Yeah.
Could I tell you my thoughts on the whole Golovkin thing? I think Golovkin, like, once he didn't get Canelo, all roads led to Murata, and they have done for quite a long time because that is the biggest money fight in the division. And Golovkin ain't fucking around here looking to fight against anybody who could beat him or whatever. He's going to try and make as much money, and at the end of the day, it's a unification. So you can get away with unifying and making more money.
It's so crazy that the biggest monkey wrench.
Fellas, Billy Joe Saunders, and I'm not surprised because I said this would happen. Billy Joe Saunders is thinking about retiring. How y'all feel about that?
Honestly, bro,
I mean, it wasn't that bad of a career. I mean, just go off on. At least you lost to a good fighter. It's not like you lost badly. Well, you lost badly.
Badou is feeling generous today. Badou is feeling generous today. He's not gonna give Billy a hard time.
I'm ecstatic.
Okay, what do you really want to say? What do you really want to say about it?
I'm ecstatic, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm ecstatic. So I don't have to watch this dude take up another slot on a card, bouncing around for 12 rounds doing nothing, and calling it master classes when he's nicking points decision wins over fringe contenders.
Quentin, are you happy or sad to see Billy Joe Saunders go?
Listen, man, if he goes, he goes. I'm not going to miss nothing. I'm not going to be hurt about it. Skilled fighter, wasted a lot of his time, a lot of his prime years, not fighting many people that anybody will really remember. The only fights you can really point to and say, oh, yeah, you know, that was the best that's the best he was the Lemieux fight. That was like 2017, 2018, sometime around then when HBO was still in the middle of their swing of things. When you talk about Billy Joe, he really doesn't have anywhere else to go. Look. He does because he has one loss to Canelo Alvarez. There's no shame in that, right? Callum Smith is coming back. Callum Smith is coming back as a light heavyweight. Billy has been struggling to make weight for fucking years. Even though it was middleweight, he's still been struggling to make weight. Ultimately, he don't have the drive, and I think he could always get a job as Daniel Kinahan's muscle because he real cool with Daniel. He don't need the box no more. But here's my thing. When I talk about him not having anywhere to go, I don't there's not anybody for him to fight. It's just the divisions, right? Like he can't make middleweight anymore. That's the reason he went up to 168. Okay, lost at 168 for the foreseeable future. There's not really anybody contending right now that he could make big money off of that he would beat, and he certainly is not going to light heavyweight because you seen them English dudes at light heavyweight. They got like 5-6 contenders that would all whoop him right now.
That's true.
To be fair though, what he could do is he could fight John Ryder. One that will do a bit of money. That'll do money in the UK. It'll do money in the UK.
Title in a rematch.
Yeah, rematch with Ryder, and then what he could do is say, "I beat Ryder more comprehensively than Callum Smith." Call Callum Smith out.
Yeah,
and try and get the
55.
Do it out of catchweight.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's for a belt,
Yeah, John would probably be a small 175 pounder.
Catch weight. I'm 6'3", 6'4" and a half. Why am I going to do a catch weight when my whole reason to go up to 175 was so I wouldn't have to make that weight anymore?
That's cool. That's cool. Callum won't acquiesce to a catch weight. He won't acquiesce to that.
I know people say that. But without Canelo, there is no money at 175. No offense to the 175 division. There isn't any money there. There is really no cash there, bro. You have world champions fighting on undercards and being put on Freeview television with no promotion.
Now,
Like Beterbiev and Vostik had zero promotion behind it. Nothing was put into the damn thing. You have fucking Bivol on a card below everybody.
Now, I disagree with you, Mark, because Danny Jacobs, Matchroom just made a multi-million-dollar offer on Jacobs' behalf for Joe Smith. So it's still his money because Matchroom still got a wallet. And they're going to need to get B-Ball opponents. They're going to need to get B-Ball opponents. Like, nobody's in a hurry to fight that fucking dude.
Look, the only way. So, what do you think they're going to do? Get Callum, get Danny Jacobs versus Joe Smith, maybe get Callum versus Joe Smith, try and get that WBO title and get Buatsi involved? Is that where you're looking? Because if you're looking at that landscape, you're looking 3 years down the line.
I think, honestly, it's going to end up being Joe Smith fights Danny Jacobs. If Danny wins, obviously that's good for Matchroom. They can keep the belt on.
Danny's not winning that, bro.
Yeah, he's not winning that shit.
I don't think either, but that's the best way because they know Joe, right? Joe got a regular job. Joe got a construction job. Joe runs a construction business. They know he ain't made no real money with Top Rank yet. They wasn't going to get Artur to take a fight with anybody on Matchroom anymore because he already was with Matchroom and he left to go to Top Rank. So they knew they wasn't going to get him to come back. Their best bet is to try to get Joe in the ring with somebody on their side of the street that he was thinking he can beat, right? And then they get an upset win. They take the belt, and then they use that to try to finagle a unification between him and Bivol. And then if you got him, because you got to remember too, Joshua Buatsi is like top 10 in the WBA. So then you could throw him in there.
Yeah, he is. But the problem with that is there's no mandatories for the super title.
Oh, so you saying Buatsi's gonna get a Reggie belt?
That'd be his main option, and that Reggie belt is about to go vacant, if I'm not mistaken, my good gentleman. Am I not?
Because of Pascal, because of Pascal.
That belt's about to go vacant. Don't be surprised if we get a fight between someone like Mkhitaryan or someone like that, or Igor Mikhalkin versus Joshua Buatsi for the vacant WBA. We've seen fighters like that suddenly prop up number 4 in the rankings. Buatsi's very high. I believe he's 1 or 2 in the WBA at the moment. There you go.
Yeah, I could see Buatsi versus Mikhalkin for a Reggie belt. Mikhalkin could box, but he can't punch. He has no punch.
No, he doesn't. But he can box.
He could move a little bit. He got a little bit of a jab, but he has no punch. I think that Jacobs versus Smith Jr. happens because of the financial value. To your point, I don't think Joe made a lot of money off that motherfucker. Or for what he been doing with Top, he couldn't have made no. Nah, bro.
Can I tell you what I heard? Like, I don't know how true it is, but from what I understood, the actual purse combined between Vlasov and Smith, it was 60-40 to Smith of a 350-gram purse.
I believe that. So
make it out what you will. So that's like what? 300 divided by 10 is 30 times 6, 180 grand. And Vlasov got 120.
If you're Joe DeGuardia and Eddie Hearn is offering your fighter a multi-million-dollar offer, you going to take it before that Better Be fight. Because if you take the Better Be fight first, that offer might not be there after that fight. So fuck that. Like, yeah, let's go, Jacobs. Let's do this shit.
And on top of that, bro, what's he going to make to fight Beterbiev when they already done established that Beterbiev would be the A side? He's the unified champ. He's number 1 in the division. They're not going to give you the A side money if you fight on a top ranked card. What, they going to give you $1.5 million?
Like they know Joe DeGuardia has to know what the risks are for a Better Be fight. And I would wager there's more money on the table with Danny right now. And I'm not against they could do what they want to do. If they want to unify, great. If they want to fight Danny, I'll take that too. I don't care. It's like I like both fights. But I'd wager there's a lot more money in the pot for Jacobs than for Better Beef. Because there wasn't a lot of money in the pot in the Vosdick fight, bro. I think they got like $1 million apiece. between them.
The great part about it is regardless of what happens on the top ranked side, whether they decide to let Joe take the fight, they still got the WBA belt on the side of the street when you talk about Matchroom. So if they really wanted to, they could just push to get Buatsi to fight Bivol. And whoever wins that fight, they they could do the same thing that they did with Billy Joe, right? When Billy Joe knows, all right, I got this belt, I'm not gonna fight again until the number one guy in the division comes calling to try to take this belt to be undisputed.
Absolutely. And by the way, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
Neither one of those dudes is gonna move up to cruiserweight. When you talk about Joe Smith or you talk about Artur, neither one of them is moving up to cruiserweight. So the only thing they could try to do is become undisputed. They gotta fight somebody on the Matchroom side. Matchroom's gonna be able to make that multi-million-dollar offer, and they're gonna have to both want to take it because neither one of them is making any real money on Top Rank side right now because Top Rank just ain't paying the money out. Look what they just did with the undisputed 140 fight. They let 1,000 people in a freaking casino hall for a fight they could have done in another state and had 30,000 people watch.
100%.
None of them, to your point, none of them guys is cut out the campaign at cruiserweight. None of them. Breedis will beat all of them by himself. So I heard recently I heard Badou Jack want to go to cruiserweight. What happens?
Bro, I'm not trying to be funny, right? Let's talk through it. The weakest champion is Gulamarian, a rough inside volume puncher. The second weakest is probably Alunga Makabu, who's a devastating mid-range puncher. Devastating. Knockouts galore. Then you've got Maris Bradis at number 1 and Akoli number 2. And you can flip Akoli with Makabu based on resume. Akoli just destroyed Krzysztof Glowacki. Destroyed him. He's been on a steamroll, knocking out people from Eves and Gabu to Glowacki. He can fight like either clinching you up or at range with devastating power. Bradis gave Usyk the hardest night of his career today. The hardest night of his entire career. Bradis beat Uniel Dorticus 10 rounds to 2. Bro, Badou Jack goes up there, he gets fucked up. No offense to him. Very good fighter at 168.
Agreed.
His career's kind of been stop-starty. He's 37 years of age. He do not want to go in there with dudes who are capable of knocking out heavyweights. We've seen Bradis one-punch Manuel Cher. One-punch Manuel Cher, who beat the all-time great Christopher Lovejoy, bro.
Now, to the point that we was making earlier, you know what the reason that Badou Jack gave to go to cruiserweight is? He doesn't want to keep cutting down to 175. He doesn't want to keep cutting weight.
The same lazy that we talked about.
And if Bradis is ever losing, all he has to do is throw an elbow. That seems to work out pretty well.
Bro, it's the same reason that all these other PBC fighters are not wanting to stay at the weights they should be at. It's just a lifestyle thing. And I'm really surprised when you talk about Badou because he seems like a very he seems like a very dedicated kind of guy, right? He seems like a very focused dude. You don't see him with the riffraff like you see a lot of these other TMT and PBC fighters. I'm a little bit surprised that he's like, I'm tired of making 175. It's like, bro, what is he?
Well, he's old now. He is old now. He's 37.
Yeah, but people. Why would you want to run risk? I gotta ask this: if you willing to risk your fucking life in the cruiserweight division, why don't you just fucking cross the street for 2 fights? That's it, 2 fights. Because you're not beating them guys. He's not gonna beat none of them guys up there. No. Fucking Yuri Kalenga fuck around and beat him.
Like, let's be real. Does he want to, when you get into those, even the mid-range guys or whatever, Doridola, that dude hits like a train. Yes, or you want to fuck around and get in there with Tabiso Machunu? He just schooled an Olympic gold medalist and made him look like he never boxed a day in his life. Outpointed him 12 rounds to zip without breaking a sweat. And you don't want to step in there.
Who's he gonna go up there? Like you go up there. So what's the plan? It must be to fight for a Reggie belt. It got to, because I'm like, he's not gonna fight Gulamari, and I don't think he's gonna fight Gul. We know the PBC loves the WBA.
Bro, he can't go after that regular belt either because he has to fight Riyad Murhi or Kevin Lorena. Everybody at cruiserweight is good. All that top 15 are solid fucking fighters. It's it's one of the most underappreciated divisions. Even prospects would fuck around and whoop up on Badou Jack right now. Even the prospects.
He don't to me, yo, he don't belong up there. It's a stupid move, and it's a stupid move motivated by politics. Because before you go up to cruiserweight, yo, you have a fighting chance against Joe Smith. You don't have a fighting chance with those guys at cruiserweight. You really
He
don't.
doesn't have really a fighting chance in boxing right now. He's just been fighting a bunch of draws and been drawing and basically just been taking a bunch of hits.
Like,
He doesn't
let's
really
be
have a.
real. Do y'all want to see Badou Jack at this stage of his career try and get himself a title shot, and he has to fight someone like Uniel Dorticus, who doesn't hold a belt right now, to get that opportunity?
Bro,
Like, do y'all really want to see Badou Jack in a ring with Dorticus?
He'll get
What was the reason
We
he
see
said?
look, Badou Jack numerous times has said he couldn't hang in sparring properly with Tabiti because he was too big. Andrew Tabiti got beat up and down that ring and absolutely annihilated when he stepped in there with a top cruiserweight. You don't want to go up there.
You
Those
don't even have to
cruiserweights
say the
are really
cruiserweight. What
good.
was
I
the?
We
still
we
have
we
I
saw.
still have nightmares about that knockout because I picked Tabiti to win that fucking fight. I thought
I don't
Tabiti
know
was
why you ever did that.
I
Now
don't know
that's
why you
gonna.
did that,
Remember, I put out
here's the
my
thing.
worst predictions ever, Julius. Remember, I put out that. That's got to be up there for you to beat you over Uniel Dorticus.
I
The
had too
dude
much
struggled
faith.
with. He struggled with a past his prime, pretty much shot Cunningham. He struggled with.
Cunningham. Oh my God. Oh my.
He
No,
struggled with a
here's the
shot
thing.
Cunningham, and then Dorticus, who we seen go life and death with Garcia in an absolute war. One of the best fights you'll see in the cruiserweight division. We seen
Yeah.
Dorticus knocking guys out left, right, and center. And
Well, here's my thing, Mark. It's not that he really so much went life and death with Cunningham. It's just that the fight was just so incredibly messy. And the thing is,
bro, he
me
got rocked
personally,
6 times in that fight. What do you mean he didn't go life and death?
You
He
talking
got
about on
fucking
the
no,
rocked
no, no,
6
undercard?
that
times.
was that
Wait. You
it
talking about
was
the
a
fight
lot
that
of
was on the
headbutt. You
undercard
talking
of
about
Maymac?
Cunningham?
You talking about the fight that was on the undercard of Maymac, right? That was the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight. That shit. That's where he
Yeah,
fought Cunningham. Yeah,
It,
I
it,
see.
yeah.
it might have
To
been,
beat, he
but I remember
struggled in
that
that
fight
fight,
like
man. He
I
struggled.
remember that fight like it was yesterday. It was a lot of headbutts. It was a lot of wrestling. Tabita was wrestling and whatnot. Me personally, I think if you can't handle a person that's bigger than you and rougher than you, then how are you going to last with Dorticos? Because Dorticos does fight really dirty. He does push a lot. He does use his forearms a lot of times to push you off of him, and that's the reason I thought he was going to beat
The point
Dorticos.
of it is, Battle, the whole point of that is, you shouldn't be struggling with a 42-year-old way past his prime Cunningham, who was losing to everybody, who had to remake cruiserweight again from heavyweight. You shouldn't be struggling like that.
Now,
And then,
Well, I didn't even know
he
that
fought.
part. That's the point.
He fought Noel Gavor right before he fought Dorticos. Right? It was the Gavor fight he fought. Or was it Pfeiffer in the World Boxing Super Series?
who are we talking about?
We talking about Tabiti. He fought one of them and looked like shit. They was just
It
clinching
was
the whole.
Pfeiffer. It was Ruslan Pfeiffer. He never
was
fought
Pfeiffer.
Gavor. It was
Yeah,
actually Breedis. It was Breedis who looked like shit
Breedis
against
fought
Gavor.
Gavor, and Breedis looked like shit with Gavor. He looked like
And
shit.
that was before they
Even
changed Gavor's name from McKelkian or some shit like that.
Yeah, because he
funny
got like
enough,
2 box rec names. He got like 2 box.
funny.
But I remember Tabiti versus Pfeiffer, and I'm like, well, maybe he could clinch Tabiti. Like maybe he could smother him and win that way. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. That man was running for his life. That whole fight, he was running for his life.
Here's the thing, though, Ring. Now I'm not even going to lie to you. Dorticos had a bad performance against that one cat
He
right
did.
before he fought Tabiti, but it's just that Tabiti's his bad performances are getting kind of consistent.
Well, I think Tabiti's problem was he don't throw enough. He's real at like that's not a division where you want to be a pure boxer. You don't throw enough. You got to keep those guys. Oh, these are big guys. Any one punch they throw can knock you out, and you got to throw, man. You trying to
Yeah,
finesse
you
the shit
got to
up here.
throw.
This is not that division, bro. You got to throw up there. You one nose hair away from heavyweight. You have to throw. He doing all this extra shit once again, rolling punches off the shoulder, which I'm tired of. Like,
I'm tired of it. It's his TMT, bro. I'm telling you, bro. Like that is one thing I'd say. If I was a boxer and I was coming up, and let's just say I knew a decent amount, but I wanted to get me a good trainer, a good environment to where I can just learn the ropes and become the best of what I can be as far as boxing. You would be out of your mind to tell me, hey, bro, let's go to TNT, let's go to the Mayweather gym. I'm like, why would I go? There's nobody good there. There's no really good trainers there. Like, why would I go there? It's such a waste of time. I would never,
They got
bro. I
a
would.
reputation for the doghouse sparring. Like they sparring supposed to be like top. Even though I'm like, why would you want hard sparring? That's tantamount to a fight. You trying to get wear and tear before you get paid? That's stupid.
This is it's a trend, bro. We just finished saying the same thing about Tank not throwing enough, right? Because in that fight with
Leo,
the fight before the last one he had, not the one with Leo, the one before that, the one he had with
Gamboa.
With Gamboa, right? He's losing rounds, right? Until eventually he gets to him and he catches him. And what was that, like the ninth round? I think he finally caught.
No, look, this is what I'm gonna say. The fight was dominant. Don't get me wrong. But what we talk about when we talk about that fight addresses Tank's reputation as this monstrous puncher. Here you have a fighter who's well past his prime. He's been knocked down 16 times in his career. 16. All right? He's on one leg. He's on one leg.
Julius, did you really need to do it like that?
Bro,
Mark, do you hear about the 16 times the detail meme?
It's like
oh my god!
Listen, he was a hot pocket. That's what Gamboa he's a hot pocket, bro.
Hey yo, Julius, let me hit you with something. In those 16 times that he's been dropped, yeah, how many times he been stopped?
That's fair. No, that's fair. But to Tank's reputation,
was it 4?
This is why I take it to Tank's reputation. Because if he didn't have that reputation, then it wouldn't look the way that it does. If you didn't have people billing him as this monstrous puncher, then it wouldn't matter that Gamboa went the distance. But you had a one-legged fighter who's been dropped 16 times. He's not throwing. He's just smothering your work. He's not throwing. Like Gamboa wasn't throwing that much. He was just diving into a clinch.
Say it again. How many times, Julius? Say it again.
I think it was 16 times.
Is that before or after the Tank fight?
17 no, matter of fact, it was more than 17 because he got dropped like 3 times in that fight. So it's right now it's like at 20.
But like I said, Ring, like
dropped 20 times, stopped 4, 20% knockout ratio. I think Tank lived up to it with the 3 knockdowns and then the stoppage. I think that's very fair.
Ring, I'm telling you, bro, like if you was a young boxer, you would have to be out of your mind to just go to Mayweather gym. First of all, it ain't no good. Listen, I have mad respect for Floyd Mayweather, but honest to God, I think a lot of Floyd Mayweather being the way he is when it comes to Junior is because he had a whole family of boxers that could teach him the ropes, and Floyd learned a lot on his own from sparring some of the greats coming up. Floyd Mayweather Sr. is just not going to mold you into the perfect fight that you need to be. He's going to give you the basics.
Senior's overrated. Senior's overrated. I agree.
Right, definitely.
I agree. I think Buddy McGirt is better.
Look at
right.
Look at fam that was there, like Eubank. Eubank grew up in that gym, and what's happened to him?
Right.
He's just now getting to a point of like actually showing some improvement in his game. Once he finally leaves Mayweather's gym at what, 31, 32?
Can we say this? And I don't mean that they're a bad trainer, because overrated doesn't have to be negative. It just means that people are making too much of shit.
Right.
I look at Floyd Sr. as a trainer in the same scope as I look at Papachenko. It's like, yo, you did that with this guy, and with Senior, you did what you did with Oscar. I can't attribute all of Floyd's success to you, because a good chunk of that is from Roger.
Correct.
It's like,
well, it's not just Roger. It's not just Roger. People need to say it's also Jeff, and it's not just Jeff. It's also the United States Olympic team at the time as well. Don't forget, he went through lots of schooling. Floyd did, lots of it. And it wasn't just those guys. People also leave out how like Floyd used to have conversations with guys like Sweet Pea and even Eddie Futch early on in his career. Conversations, whether he was trained or not. He had so much schooling.
Not even conversations, just Mark. He actually he sparred numerous occasions with Sweet Pea. I learned a lot from him.
Sweet Pea a couple of times. He said that he used to be coked up. I think he was coked up when he was sparring, but something like that.
But at the end of the day, if you come into this era of boxing, have you any idea how much experience it is just to share 3 rounds with someone like Pernell Whitaker? That's mad.
It's crazy. Like the thing is, like people they don't understand. Like me personally, if I'm on a come up, right, you gonna see me moving around as far as trying to get these sparring matches up because I want that experience. I'm gonna be fighting the best of the best of the best of the best because I want the experience under my belt. When I hear people like Eddie. When I hear people like Eddie Fresh talking his like his what do they call it excerpts or whatever
Excerpts.
when excerpts and he talks about how he ran his gyms and how he used to train his fighters. He was strict. He said a lot of times with fighters they'll try to do their own thing, and a lot of fighters are like just they're belligerent. They try to do their own thing. He was like, no, 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 you're gonna do it my way. Otherwise, you're just not. I'm not gonna train you. And a lot of fighters be like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing, and then they'll come like. They'll go away and come back like a year later. Be like Eddie, bro, like you was right, bro. I'm gonna stop. Like I have to do it your way because a lot of times my ego get the best of me, and and it's showing in my fights.
To your point, I don't think Andy should have left Manny Robles. I think he was better off with Manny Robles.
Wait,
and that's not a knock on Eddie. That's not a knock on Eddie. But look, I believe he was with Manny Robles for the Parker fight. I think he was with him for that. I know he was with him for the AJ fights. And he wasn't
with. No, Manny Robles took over Andy after he moved over to the PDC. So it was after the
Okay. Well, I don't think he should have left Manny because Manny wasn't the problem. Manny wasn't the problem.
Andy was the problem. Andy was the problem. But let's talk about that for a second.
Right.
I think it was the right call for him to leave, not because of Manny, but literally because I don't think a trainer should ever train with somebody who they have zero fucking respect for, because it'll never work, man. And no matter what, you can't change a human being's psyche that easily and quickly. If he don't respect Manny Robles to put in the time and effort and follow his instructions, he best leave Manny alone because he's just going to damage Manny's reputation.
You know what, bro? Let me at this one part though. I think Andy's decision to go to Eddie's gym is not so much about Manny and what he wasn't giving him as much as it is about being in that gym with those other dudes who are doing better than you're doing.
That's true.
Or who have reached the things that you want to get to as far as consistency and longevity. When you're talking about Canelo, when you're talking about dude who just beat Burchell. I'm losing his name right now. What's his name? Dude that just
Valdez.
Valdez. You got Valdez, Garcia. You had Nery, but Nery ended up leaving.
And then what happens to Nery? What happens to Nery when he leaves?
You see what happened. You see what happened.
The thing is, like, it's just like you're just gonna have to accept that you're just gonna have a good relationship. James Toney talks about how when he first met Pops Miller, or what's his name, Bill Miller, they didn't get along. They didn't see eye to eye. It was like, I think he said the first thing he made him do was just sit and watch old tapes of boxing footage. And man, he's like, man, I don't want to do this, man. This is boring, man. This is stupid.
Can I make a quick argument on the Lewis Nery thing? I think he was primed to get fucked up at 122, no matter who he was with. Because if you watch his back foot game against Aaron Almeida, he's with Eddie. Cool. You can see this dude, he can't box like that. He would have got fucked up fighting on the back foot against whenever he went, he did. But whenever on the back foot he was on the back foot against Brandon, he looked horrendous, and that's when he got minced up. So I think his only chance was to try and blitz out Brandon. I think the dude is too big for him, too strong for him, and in all honesty, too tough for the dude.
Look. Think about Nery. Nery wasn't going to beat Fulton. Nery wasn't going to, even if he would have made it past Brandon, he wasn't going to beat Fulton, and he definitely wasn't going to beat MJ. He wasn't going to beat them dudes. Nery is exactly what we've been talking about, bro. You belong at 118 pounds. You moved up because you're fucking lazy and you don't want to make the weight. You can't take the Clembo anymore that you used to beat Yamanaka. Let's call it what it is. You only at 120. You don't want to make the weight. That's it.
And the thing about Fulton, right? Like, no knock on him, he is improving, but he doesn't strike you the type of guy that's just going to be boxing circle around you. Like, it seems that with your southpaw advantage, you being a heavy hitter and you being the aggressor, you can still get that fight in your favor. But the fact is, you kind of belligerent in the way you fight, bro. You fight the same way in the sense that you're trying to beat a brick wall down with your bare hands. Like, there's a nuance to it, but you're not using it.
Battle. When I watched the fight, I watched the fight live. I watched the shit here on the channel
Somebody said it
live.
was boring.
No. I'm talking about Neri Figueroa. And you know what? It was an entertaining fight. It was an entertaining fight. It's not that it wasn't entertaining, but me and Alexis, shout out to Alexis Rimbero, we was laughing at that shit because it's like, look, this shit don't look like Fulton versus what's that kid, man? Angelo Leo. This shit don't look like that. This shit don't look like Navarrete versus Diaz. Like, these dudes is just flailing like that balloon man at a car dealership. Like, that's how they fight. And they just throwing hell for leather, no defense.
Hey, yo, and by the way, we're going to see very quickly just how good Almeida is because he's fighting against Angelo Leo next. No, he's fighting Leo.
Oh, he's fighting. Oh, right. Angelo Leo. Yeah.
And we know what Leo's capable of. Like, yeah, Fulton beat him up, but he gave a good account of himself and getting beaten up, bruh.
He did.
But he's a solid guy. Almeida, he gave Neri a close boxing match. I think we're going to see a very big difference here in just how good Luis Neri is at 122. Because I think Leo's going to mess up Almeida, and he's going to mess him up bad, bro.
I'm going to tell you what. You saw what happened. Like, technically, Luis Arias, even if he's on the PBC side now, he wasn't always a PBC guy, right? And during that fight, I thought to myself, it's happening again when they let a PBC fighter fight a non-PBC fighter. It's happening again. You look great or you look something over there. You fight somebody who's really not really from over there, and you look fucking weird, bruh. Look, Stevenson. The only reason your reign lasted as long as it did at light heavyweight is because you was not exposed to the rest of the division for a number of years. They put you in there with Vosdick. He puts you in a fucking coma. Put him in a coma. Like, he could have beat you, but he didn't have to put you in a coma. That's what all that stat pattern does. That stat pattern. Fucking tooth and Farah fights. For what? For what? I'm telling you right now, if you put Keith Thurman in there with Igis Kavaliauskas, he gets put in a coma, bro. He gets put in a coma. They shitting on that dude, that Belarusian dude. I'm telling you, he'll beat the shit out of Danny Garcia. I promise. He beat the shit out of Danny Garcia. He beat the shit out of Keith Thurman. The only reason a lot of them cats be looking halfway decent is because you don't want to leave the island. You leave the island, it get fucking wild out there. You bump into somebody, fuck you up. You didn't think they was gonna fuck you up.
And the worst part about it is that island, you fight somebody else who you think ain't got no name. Now what's your name? You lose to somebody that most people in this, in America ain't even heard of. It's like, oh, you out the rotation now. And that's why they're not leaving. That's the real reason why they only fighting on their own network. It's because if you lose to somebody that's not on your network, that the people that you value their opinion of don't know who this dude is, or he's not real heralded, right? He's not in mainstream boxing fans, sites. You got a problem on your hands because you got a loss to somebody nobody's ever heard of.
I'm gonna say this. Shit. Fuck was my train of thought? I fucking forgot. I picked Mean Machine to beat Danny Garcia. I picked Mean Machine to beat Thurman. And the shit is, they figure that we could take it easy in between big fights. And you really not, you should, it's like, it's not being altruistic, idealistic. It's just that if you're going to be a fully functioning fighter, you got to treat all them motherfuckers like they trying to kill you. Because technically they all are. You take your eyes off the wheel for a second, you're going to look like Thurman did with Lopez. That type of shit is not supposed to be happening, bro. That was supposed to be an easy one for you.
It's so funny. It's so funny because, like, I think I was having a conversation with one of these guys, one of these British fighters, one of these British fans, and I was like, we were talking about Dillian White, and I like Dillian White. He trains hard, and he kind of seems like he's in shape when his fights happen. And I do was like, dude, Dillian White's almost never in shape when his fight happens. I'm like, really? So it took by surprise. Like, how can this dude lose to AJ? And then come back and still one of the top contenders in the fight, still fighting the best and still winning most of his fights. He just beat Povetkin. Yeah. So, like, out of shape, this dude still stays consistent. Like, that's impressive.
I mean, that dude, I think here in the USA, they don't really know that, like, yo, that dude is a street dude over there in the U. Like, that's a street dude, bro. Like, I know he got an accent and all of that, but that's a street dude. That's why he like that. You know what I'm saying? That explains his entire being and shit. To some degree, you could say Cesaro's like a street dude. Why he like Burt Cooper without the coke. You remember Burt Cooper? Well, Mark wasn't around for Burt Cooper, but he's Burt Cooper without the coke.
Smoking Burt Cooper.
Yeah, that fuck Michael Mora. He's like Burt Cooper, except without the cocaine and the sex and the hookers. But I don't know if he gets hookers. I don't know. Maybe he get hookers. I don't know. Derek's a weird guy, but it's like, yo, them dudes fight like
I feel very insulted, Julius. Very insulted. Just because I wasn't around for Burt Cooper don't mean I don't know who Burt Cooper was. Bro, I wasn't around for John L. Sullivan. I know who the fuck he was.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I was pretty sure you know who Burt Cooper is. And
yeah, one of my favorite fights of all time is Burt Cooper versus Ray Mercer, man. And Burt Cooper versus Holyfield.
Yeah, that was brain damage 101. Jesus Christ.
Bro, I don't care what nobody says. He knocked Evander Holyfield out and then woke him back up. That dude was knocked out on his feet, and then 2 seconds later, he catches him with a right hand, and Holyfield wakes back up and hits him with a 3-piece.
Telling you, man. That being said, I think that because let's recap everything that we talked about. I feel like Floyd doing 1 million pay-per-view buys shows that it can be done even in today's era of boxing, and that is cause for shame for these younger fighters, because you're not even coming nowhere near that. It should be a shame to you that Floyd in an exhibition match with a fucking YouTuber gets more attention than your fight. You're doing something wrong. That's how I feel about that. I feel Ryan Garcia ain't gonna make it. He just imagine him at 140. Imagine Garcia versus Baranchik.
Can I give you a very, very bold prediction on Ryan Garcia?
Go ahead.
If he ever fights Devin Haney, and we know the narratives on Haney's punching power, he gets stopped on a TKO against Devin.
Get out of here.
He'll get stopped on a TKO. And
TKO.
the reason I believe that is, one, Luke Campbell don't hit hard. And two, even though Devin, he did get clipped by Linares, whenever he hurt Linares, he did try to finish him every single time. If that's Ryan don't have the tactical nous to deal with that. He gets caught up, he gets punched, he gets hit to the body. The referee will have to step in because he'll get caught too many times because he's got no feet and no upper head movement.
Upset alert for Davis versus Barrios. That could be an upset. That could be don't call it a prediction. I'm just saying, yo, listen, man, the only reason he up there is because he don't want to cut down to 135.
Just pay attention, Julius. Let's just pay attention to one thing. If Barrios weighs in at 137 or 138 pounds, some shit like that, then we know what's up. All right.
So basically, if it's 2 pounds under 140, we'll know that there's some kind of a clause.
100%, because Barrios has never weighed below 138.5 pounds.
Okay.
In his entire career. So he can't do that, which means he had to have done that. He had to make that.
Okay.
I sure understand him well if he's going to be willing to give up his advantage, because if I'm him, I'm the champ, and you coming up to this division, you ain't never fought here. The only reason you taking this fight here is because you ain't got no other choices. I'm gonna pull your bluff and be like, no, 140.
Bro, I love the take.
That's leverage.
I love the take. I love the leverage. The reality of it is he ain't getting paid no money against anybody. He's never made any money. And the PBC are going to treat Barrios as the B-side. He is the B-side. The only reason he got this fight is because Tank Davis cherry-picked. And they cherry-picked for Tank. That's the only reason.
He another Giovanni Santiago, man. Giovanni Santiago.
Let me push back for 1 second and say this. I agree with you. He's the B-side. But I don't think the reason that they chose him is because it's a cherry pick. I think he got chosen just because of the simple fact that Gervonta don't want to fight nobody else. So he's the best out on their side of the street.
That's literally the definition of a cherry pick. I'm going to fight this one dude because I ain't fighting anybody else. That's the cherry pick. That's
still the path of least resistance, because that's the lesser of two evils. Why fight the winner of Taylor versus Ramirez when I could schedule a fight with this dude that never fought, that ain't even fought them? Like, it's a lot of people you could look at. You looked at a dude that did not fight nobody at 140. The
best win he has is a very questionable decision win over an unproven prospect in Akhmedov. That's not coincidental.
That being said, I'm not gonna make a prediction on that. I'm gonna just wait till fight week to see how I feel. But I'm like, yeah, there's that could be a banana peel right there, man. That you can slip. You can slip. If Davis don't throw a lot, and you was letting Leo touch you up like that, what's gonna happen when you let a real 140-pounder touch you up like that? Can you take the punches? Because he was looking funny before that knockout. He was looking real fucking funny with Leo. If Barrios decide to lean in on you and hit the gas and throw a lot of shots, I don't know if you're gonna be able to keep him off. I don't know.
You think this Teofimo Lopez fight is gonna do well on pay-per-view now that they got Jim Lampley?
Honestly, no. I just don't see how it could. We got too many options. Like, look, I'm gonna buy the fight just because it's what is it, $50 fucking? Like, that's nothing. But it's like you got way too much competition. ESPN got a card that night. Showtime got a card that night. And you think that people gonna pay to see you?
Hold on. DAZN also have a card, don't they? Isn't
they got
the Munguia fight, right?
Munguia versus Cesaro Meta. And to be honest, this is the reason I'm watching that card over all the other cards. Bektemir Melikuziev versus Gabe Rosado.
Yep. And he's gonna fuck Rosado up. He's gonna fuck him up real good.
I'm gonna pay attention to two fights on that night. One is gonna be Lubin versus Jason Rosario, and the other one's gonna be Beck versus Rosado. Because those fights tell us a lot about those prospects. They tell us everything.
It's gonna be hard to manage that because I'm like, look, I could watch one fight on my TV. I got a tablet. I'm gonna try to watch probably the zone. The zone is gonna be for the tablet. I could pull up the Showtime card on my phone with the Showtime app. I could do that. But it's like, how the fuck am I really supposed to watch three fights?
No, Julius, don't pull up the Showtime app on your phone after last weekend. If I were you, I'd be watching like Showtime on the TV just to make sure. And then I'd be doing like the Zone on the phone, ESPN on the laptop, and then the tablet you can have whatever else, the Triller. That'd be the best way about it, man. Because the Zone works best on phone. Triller's really good on tablet/laptop. Showtime is crap on the app, and ESPN is kind of like standard across all boards.
Look, how do you think those numbers are gonna do though? That's I don't think the numbers for Kambosos versus Lopez are gonna be good. I just can't see. But and we can't use Mayweather versus Paul because I know a lot of us didn't think. I didn't think it would do $1 million. I honestly didn't think it would. But
can I give you my honest answer? I think Tank Davis Barrios is going to outsell it with a higher pay-per-view number.
But what about Lopez versus Kambosos?
That's what I'm saying. Tank versus Barrios is going to outsell that shit, and it has more money to spend. It's going to outsell it. And I don't think Tank versus Barrios is going to do north of 210. So maybe 220 if you're lucky. Yeah, so I'd say Tio Kambosos will be lucky if it cracks 150, bro.
That's what I mean. I'm like, I just can't see like how, bro. Like how? How does this fight crack? Like, how do you get the $6 million back? How?
What
with this?
He gets done. That's what the real question is. He's gonna make that $6 million, and he's gonna have to go back to Top Rank to making 2.
It looked that. I mean, to me,
that's
what
I've been saying for a while, and I think Julius has been on the same boat. He's really fucked himself because the reality of the situation is you only had the option to get that type of money due to a poor bid.
And I want to add.
Sorry about that. I'm being attacked by the FBI. So, where was I?
He only had the option of getting that kind of a payday because of the purse bid. Reality is you're not a $6 million fighter yet. If you are, we don't know.
No. And you have to go back now to Top Rank. If you don't do over 200K pay-per-view, boys, Bob's going to look at your value at $50 a pop, less than 200K, boys. Yeah, you're getting the bare minimum, 1.2 million. If you don't want to fight for that, you're just going to get shelved. You're going to get shelved.
The only option he has, bro, after this, I see, is he takes the Kambosos fight, he wins. He's got to fight Devin on DAZN. That's the only way he makes that money.
Well, I'm gonna let you in on a little bit of I don't know how deep on the inside it is, but Devin been talking to the people at Top Rank. His contract with Matchroom is up. So
I don't see him going to Top Rank. He'd have the same problem that
I don't. I'm just letting you know that's what's going on. That's literally.
I saw somebody tweeted about it, and I was like, that just doesn't make any sense. If every fighter on Top Rank is making less than Terrence is, and Terrence is only making 4, you've been making 4 with DAZN. For what reason would you want to leave and go to Top Rank? Because as soon as Josh
Devin ain't been making 4 with DAZN. He's been making $1 million.
No, he made 4.
$1 million.
He made 4 last fight.
Listen. I understand how it looks that we will say, why would he go to Top Rank? Will Top Rank make the Lomachenko fight? No. Will Top Rank make the Lopez fight? No. Does Top Rank have a good hold over 140? Yes. They do. All the belts right now, all the belts is at Top Rank. So it's a situation to where, you might, and I'm not saying, I don't think he should have to. I'm wondering if he will, based on how it look. Because it's like, look, I don't see Top Rank making that Lopez fight. They gonna do to you what PBC doing to them at 147. That's what they gonna do. They're not just gonna let you have that fight. No. They gonna if you remember, Bob said it himself the night of Ramirez versus Hooker. Oh, Devin on the wrong side of the street. He said that shit. Devin on the wrong side of the street. So I'm like, would they really make the fight with Lopez and Devin after Cambosos unless he crossed? I don't think so. They'll be like, the fuck do we need with him? We could do a Lomachenko rematch with Lopez before we do that. Now Lopez, the saving grace, and I don't know. Lopez says he wants him. He says he wants him after this fight. So we're gonna see how much he wants him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not gonna say I don't believe him. I'm gonna just say that even if he does want the fight, it's not all the way up to you. You still under contract with Top Rank. You still under contract with them. So I mean, we gonna see what happens.
Can I tell you why I think he wants that fight now before moving? If he moves up to 140, there's only one man to go through for that main belt at the moment, and that is not an easy fight.
He'll lose that fucking fight, and he'll lose that fight, bro. He not being.
I'm just being nice, right? I'm just being nice. I'm being nice. That's a hard fight, right? The reality of it is, if he goes over and stays with Bob, his next fight at 135, he ain't getting the money he wants. The only way he can get the same money and do it in an easier fashion, and in all honesty, I think it's less risk fighting Devin than Josh, because Josh may fuck around and knock his ass out. Let's be real.
That's what I think.
Let's be real. Like, Josh is a huge 140 pound. He's fucking huge, and he's a southpaw with huge length advantages over time. And in all honesty, I think he's faster, he gets harder. Teofimo's power won't do nothing to that dude. That dude walked through Regis program Ramirez.
That's the same shit I said. That I'm like, look, I don't got nothing against Tio, but I really don't think he hit harder than Regis. I don't think I don't. They got a similar style. It's just that Regis is a southpaw, but they both roll punches off the shoulder. They both hit hard, and they're both counter punches. I just think Regis hit harder than Tio. And if Josh could walk through Regis, he'll fucking bulldoze Tio. Easy.
Let me ask an honest question, right? These are just a few questions for both of y'all. Who do you think has better footwork, Teofimo or Regis?
Regis.
Yeah, I would probably say Regis, just based off the people who move around.
Yeah. Who's got the better job, Teofimo or Regis?
Regis. To me, look. If I know where you're going, I do think Regis is a not just more complete, more mature fighter. He's more mature.
30, 32.
Yeah, like he not no little boy. Like he got his man strength.
And here's the last one. Who do y'all think got a better chin?
Regis. Listen. In them later rounds, look at Lopez when the punches is landing, bro. Of the Lomachenko fight. Go back, just watch. I'm not gonna get into an argument about the decision. Just look at how he reacted to punches from Lil Loma. What you think gonna happen if Josh or Regis hit this dude?
This is my point, right? Josh was able to drop Ramirez twice. He was able to walk through Maurice Hooker's power. Hooker was able to wobble Virgil Ortiz or welterweight, right? Lomachenko is a featherweight at 135 who I have a lot of respect for. He hits decently well. He don't hit like a Josh Taylor. He don't hit like a Ramirez or a Prograis. He don't hit as hard as those guys. He's an outboxer pressure fighter. We know that. So when you look at that and Teofimo's getting rocked, and in that 11th round, he nearly got slept. He managed to clinch on. If that's Josh Taylor or Regis, that dude's getting dropped.
That's
There's
what
no way.
look, he not listening, man. Motherfuckers think I'm hating. He's not long for 140. He better hope he don't bump into some people when he go up, because Regis is like, man, Regis will fuck him up, dog. He'll fuck him up. He'll fuck him up fast. Josh will put him out. I don't have no doubts about that. So you better focus on Devin. Get Devin. Bro, you can win that fight.
That leads us all back to the suggestion that I made. Is like, bro, if he goes back to Top Rank after the Kambosos fight, the best option for him is to get Bob to do whatever he's got to do, co-promotion, whatever deal they got to make, ESPN in America, DAZN around the world, to make that Devin Haney fight. Because if he wants the money he wants to make, he also wants to keep his belts. He can clean up the undisputed thing if he wins the fight. There's so many advantages to having that Devin fight. There's so many disadvantages to him moving up. If he moves up, he's going to be fighting against everybody that has the advantage over him that he has over everybody else in his own division.
Exactly. Like I don't want to diminish his victory over Vasyl Lomachenko, but to Mark's point, that's what the fuck he is. He's a fucking featherweight that moved up to lightweight. That's your biggest win. That's your biggest win. The roles is reversed when you go to 40. You gonna be the little dude. You gonna be the little dude. They're gonna be doing to you what you did to him. Like, I ain't worried about this little dude. And I tell you, I think Regis is just better. He's just better. All right. You do the same shit that he be doing, but I think he's better than you at it. And he's a southpaw. All right. I don't see Teofimo. I don't like if he become a champion, it'll have to be through, once again, vacant titles. When Josh moves up, belts go vacant. Maybe you pick up one or two, but you're not gonna beat him for them belts. Nah, he'll fuck you up. He'll fuck you up.
And here's the other thing about those fights, right? We watched Josh Taylor beat Ramirez in the pocket. We watched Prograis and Josh Taylor have one of the best inside pocket fights. When Teofimo beat Loma, all of the rounds that he won were at length, were at mid-range, where he had the advantages in length, right? Once he was in the pocket with Loma, every time he lost every single exchange.
Listen,
not one exchange in the pocket did he win.
I know where you're going, and I'm going to say it because it needs to be said. You won a lot of rounds just because he didn't throw. That's real shit.
Inactive.
I mean, I'm not making excuses for Loma. I'm just being honest that if you started the fight with a lead, like you started with a real good lead, but it was because he wasn't throwing. As soon as he started throwing, he started landing, but it was too late. It's too late for that. You let this dude pick up like 5-6 rounds already. But as soon as he started throwing, he was nailing you. So it's a difference between actually beating his ass and winning rounds because he ain't throwing. He ain't long for 140, man. He better hope Regis moves up. He better hope.
Someone in the chat saying Teofimo's faster than Taylor, right? Which, okay, maybe he has a hand speed advantage. Doesn't have a foot speed advantage. Hey, do you know what detracts away from speed? Timing and length. Josh Taylor's reach advantage on that jab is going to keep resetting him, bro. When Teofimo tries to explode in, counter punch, check left hook, just like Ramirez, out to the side, dude's dropped. Come on, you have to see it.
Listen. The last time T.O. fought a tall guy, what he said after the fight. What he said after the
12
fight.
rounds in a struggle.
Word. And that was the last time he fought a tall guy. We no more tall guys. That's what he said. Now, Josh is just as tall as Nakatani, but he hit a lot harder and he's
Bigger
a lot
too.
better.
Bigger too.
So I mean, let's just keep it a bean. I don't got nothing against Taylor, but I don't see fighters through rose-tinted lenses, bro. That ain't no low-ass featherweight that moved up. Josh Taylor's a different beast, though. Different beast. I give Taylor better odds to make a splash at 47 than T.O. at 40. Because he's little, bro. Like, he's a little.
Can I ask an honest question? Honest question, Jay. Who has a better chance of winning this fight? Teofimo beating Josh Taylor or Josh Taylor beating Terrence Crawford?
Taylor beating Crawford. Honestly, Taylor, even though I wouldn't pick him to win that fight if it was next.
I wouldn't either, but we're talking better chance.
But relatively speaking, I see your point that I don't give T.O. no odds in that fight, bro. Like, he'll get knocked out. He'll get knocked out against Josh, bro. Look. Be real. Don't make it about. Let's not even make it about Josh. Real shit. How do you think T.O. does again? I think he could get Baranchik, but he'll go through hell. You'll go through hell with that dude. That dude gonna be all over you, dog. All over you. You're gonna have to knock him out, and it's gonna take some work to do it. So forget. So shit. Anyway, ultimately, I never thought T.O. was cut out for 140. I still don't. I don't think he beats Josh. Only way he becomes a champion is by winning a vacant title. It's the only way it happens.
And even that's not going to be easy because that division's stacked.
Holding on to the title is going to be hard. Holding on to a title is going to be hard.
I mean, if you look at the IBF, let's say Josh beats Catterall and vacates, I'm looking at Matias being the mandatory for that shit.
Subriel Matias.
Yep. Just destroyed Jukumboyev. Does Teofimo want that work? I wouldn't. I fucking wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that. Oh, what about my fellow top-ranked compatriot, Arnold Barbosa? He can box his ass off.
Too many hitters. It's too many hitters there. What Lopez is going to do, you know what I honestly think now that we having this conversation? Let's say you actually beat Devin. Not saying that he will or won't, but in a hypothetical scenario, let's say he beats Devin. He ain't going to focus on them guys at 140. He going to focus on Ryan Garcia. They not dumb over there, man. Like, they not dumb. Well, I'm going to work twice as hard when I know I can knock Ryan out. If Luke could knock Ryan down, I can knock him out. So let's say you have the Haney fight after the Cambosos fight. You ain't going to worry about them guys at 140. You're going to focus on Ryan or Javante. That's what you're going to start talking about.
The only hope they got, bro, is that Taylor moves up to 147 and they could pick up a vacant title, because ultimately Taylor's going to probably end up doing that anyway, because I don't think he wants to keep trying to make 140. I mean, he could do it for this one more fight so we can get that fight at the Castle like he's been talking about for 2 years. I can see him doing that. It's an easy tick-over fight, right? But I don't see him staying there very long. And unfortunately, what that's probably going to mean is that Gervonta is going to have as equal an opportunity to become a real three-weight world champion, because, you know, then the belt will be vacant and he'll probably be in line to try to pick up a WBA belt.
But that's the only way I could see it happening. And we know I'm not knocking him for this because it is pugilism, it is prize fighting. But why would you take chances on the Baranchiks and just those kinds of people, the Matiases of the world, when you know you get a bigger purse with a Ryan Garcia? You know that. You know you get a bigger purse or the same kind of purse with a Javante Davis. That's what the focus is going to be. If Javante makes it past Barrios, he going to focus on Ryan. He going to focus on Javante. If he even fights Devin, which, you know what, relatively speaking, you got a better chance with Devin than you do with Josh. You don't got no chance with Josh, bro. That dude will knock you out. All that extra shit. I don't even know why they hyping that up. That's the other thing. Why is his dad and him focusing on Josh when you know that ain't about to happen, bro? Like, you know that ain't about to happen. Go after Devin. Finish that unfinished business. Finish that, because you got a better chance with that than you do against Josh, bro. You don't got no chance against Josh.
Julius, can I ask you a question, though?
Good.
If they make Taylor versus Teofimo, do they get your money?
Yes, definitely. 100%. 100%.
Even though you're convinced of the outcome.
Yes, but it's the quality of the fight. It's the quality of the fight. Like, look, when you think about that question, remember, I bought Charlo versus Rosario just because it was 3 belts on the line, bro. Mm-hmm. I bought that. Like, yeah, I bought Porter versus Spence. And bear in mind, you know I don't like Spence. But I bought it because that's a unification match. And even though I ain't big on Spence, I know Porter going to make it worth it. I don't know why people thought he was going to get knocked out. Like, bro, Spence could knock out Mikey. He's going to knock out Sean. Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy.
Yeah. I mean, any true boxing fan, regardless of whether you think the fight is a wash or not, if it's a fight that's going to be intriguing between two fighters that you know are really highly skilled, most people are gonna want to watch. And if the price if the price is right, you're gonna buy it just because you know it. You never know, right? Like KO ain't got the advantages, but he got a chance. It's not a 0% chance.
Look. Here's an example. You know I'm not big on Davis, and I get mad at most of his fights. But if you told me tomorrow Davis versus Lopez, oh yeah, $80. Yeah, I need that. I gotta see that.
What if I told you Davis versus Regis?
Yes, I gotta see that.
Yeah.
I gotta see that.
Well, here's my question though. Those fights, are you buying them because of the skill, or is it because you believe Gervonta's gonna lose?
Yes. I honestly, it's a mix. It's a mix. It's like I'm confident of what will happen, but I have to. It's like when you watch a Rocky movie. You know he gonna win, but you got to see it. Like you got to see it. I gotta see that, yo. I gotta see it. If you told me Devin versus Ryan Garcia, oh yeah, I gotta see that. I gotta pay for that. Like I ain't cheap, bro. If the fight is good, I'll buy it. But you're not gonna repackage some bullshit and then try to sell. Like, nah, I'm not gonna do. Like I didn't Wilder versus Ortiz. No, I didn't buy that. What kind of crazy shit is y'all on? The first one was on regular Showtime. How you gonna turn around and charge me for the second one when I wasn't asking for that? That's bananas.
Jay, can I ask everybody in the chat, right? Who's in the chat right now? Who would they pick hypothetically? If Taylor goes and beats Catterall, Teofimo Taylor versus Lopez, who would you all pick in the chat?
You got too much noise on your shit, bro.
Oh, can you still hear me now?
I hear you now.
Yeah, I just want to know from the chat, who would they pick? Taylor versus Lopez if it were to happen after the Catterall fight at 140. Who would everyone in the chat pick?
Damn, Taylor versus Lopez. I go Taylor, bro. I mean, you know who I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Taylor. That's it. That's a no-brainer.
Lopez would be giving up every one of his advantages, and he's already making excuses about why he can't have the fight in England. So that tells you everything you need to know about his own self-belief and whether he gets a knockout or not.
Yeah, like he don't look. The other thing is he don't throw enough for Josh. He don't he another one rolling punches off the shoulder.
Look at your chat, Jay. Look at your chat, Jay.
I'm looking at it. I already see. Like that's an easy one. Like I gotta go Taylor. Once again, I think you asked the perfect question. Who do you give better odds to win a fight moving up? Do you give Taylor better odds to beat Crawford or Lopez better odds to beat Taylor? I don't think Taylor's ready for Crawford, but I'd give him better odds than I'm giving Lopez to beat him. Like, nah, Lopez, he ain't got the style for that shit. He ain't got the style. He ain't got the height for it. He'll lose some of his power having to punch up to hit Taylor because he's so much taller than him. He's like 5'10". Like, it's going to be Nakatani all over again with a guy that has heavier hands and he's a better boxer.
Yo, tell me this, bro. Tell me this. If Lopez struggled with Nakatani, right? Nakatani's what, 5'9.5", 5'10", around there.
No, he's 6 feet.
Yeah, he's 6 feet tall.
He's 6 feet tall?
Legit. I don't know how you make that weight.
Okay.
I don't know how the fuck he doing it.
So barring that, right? Why are people so convinced that he beats Haney? If Haney has a better skill set than Nakatani, and Lopez struggles with guys, tall, rangy fighters, good jabbers, and things like that. Why is it such a wash to most people?
Because of the fit. Look, they saying this shit, right? And they used to say this about Floyd. This is the parallel I make. They say that, well, Haney's not a knockout puncher, so T.O.'s going to walk through him. If T.O. was a volume puncher, I would agree. But he's not a volume. He's literally not a volume puncher. He don't go out there throwing a lot. He looks for the counter, gets you hurt, then he starts to throw. Haney's jab will take away a lot of that shit. Like, it's going to be hard to counter this dude. Would you do the same thing, sort of, that Regis does, and to a lesser extent, what Davis does? You look for the counter to get the guy hurt. And once you nail him, you go in. That opportunity, I don't think it's going to be there like that with Devin. I don't think it is. And he's tall enough and long enough that he's not going to be right up on you for you to hit him. He could pick you off with the jab long distance. So I'm like,
I watched an interview on YouTube that was from them talking together. They were on the same interview. I don't even remember what fight it was, but it was from a couple of years ago. It was an old interview. And bro, I was shocked because I'm like, Devin got like 4 inches on this dude.
He little, yo, Lopez is little. That's the shit I be saying about these kids. Like, yo, they don't look that way on TV, but they don't look like they small on TV. But a lot of these cats is mad little, man. Like Keith Thurman looked like a full-size person on TV. That's a little dude, man. That dude like 5'7", little. He ain't no big ass man. It's like, look. I remember when G-Dep came out with Get Smacked Silly, Diddy and all of them. I used to think they was tall. Then I seen them. I was like, oh, they little. Like that. I mean, they're not little like a hobbit, but they ain't that tall. They just look tall on TV. That's TV effects. They ain't that tall in real life. Lopez is a little dude, bro. He hovering around 5'5", 5'6".
Somebody in the comments said Haney would be scared to jab. The safest punch to throw in boxing is a jab. So how's he going to be scared to throw that? If he's scared to throw that, he's not even going to take the fight. That doesn't make any sense. He wants to.
Yeah, that don't make no sense. If you want to, the best thing you could do with a guy like we talked about this last night about Kovalev and Canelo, that in a situation like that, when you scared of getting countered, you just throw that pity pat jab. You don't throw it like you setting up the right. You pity pat him with it and touch him on the glove so he don't throw. Just keep pity patting him. Devin could do that. Devin is fast, bro. I know he don't hit that hard, but he's fast to where he could pity pat him and just move. Pity pat him on the gloves, touch him, pity pat him on, and just keep moving. You're not gonna get a chance to throw if he do that. It's gonna be hard because if you try to open up to throw, right hand. Once you open up, once he see, oh, he trying to open up, right hand, and then you going to shell back up again, trying to land a counter shot. Like, I know Devin don't have a lot of power, and I know that he got frazzled in his last fight, but y'all got to stop looking past that kid, man.
And the other thing too, man, the longer that it takes for them to make that fight, because eventually I think they will end up having to fight. Their career trajectories are along the same line. They're the same age. You know, they're both going to end up eventually moving up. If Lopez doesn't take that fight now, I think he just gives Devin more time to get better at his skill, while Lopez is going to probably end up ultimately remaining the same. I don't really see him, getting exponentially better over time. I think the best thing for him is his power and his timing. I think that's what he's going to keep. I don't think he's going to get exponentially better from here. When you talk about
I don't think so, because I heard that they moved Joey Gamache. Joey Gamache helped Lopez prepare for Lomachenko, and it was looking real good because Joey Gamache, he a good strategist. He not over there anymore. Let me address this. Antonio Mosley, IQ, you mean the pawing jab? Nah, not a pawing jab. It's a short jab. It's not like, see, the jab I'm talking about, you're not keeping the hand out there, because if you keep it out there, he could counter it. It's a short jab that you really just.
He's talking about a touch. He's just talking the jab touch. He's not talking about like a stiff jab or a paw jab. Paw jabs are used to pretty much dissect guards normally and obscure vision. That's what a paw is about. He's just talking touch move. Sonny Edwards versus Muthalane is a prime example of touch.
Yep. That's just touch him. Just touch him with the shit. Like, you're not even trying, like, you might not be trying to set up the right, but if he opens up, it's there for you to bring it over. But just touch him and move. Devin could do that. Devin, like, he can do that. I still look at Lopez, Haney. I still look at it as like 50-50, maybe 55-45, maybe, but it's a close fight. It's not like he just gonna go in there and smoke Devin.
No.
I don't feel that way. Cause
that easy, he would have took the fight already.
More, it's the way that he fight. It's the way that Lopez fight for me. That, like, you're not a volume guy. So why do people think a guy who's not a volume puncher is gonna walk through somebody? Like, no, he's not a volume guy. He wait for you to throw and throw off of that. That's what he do. Devin is not throwing no wild ass, stupid ass punches. He don't. All his punches is short and sharp. His jab is laser. he ain't just gonna throw some bullshit out there that you gonna counter him the way you counter. Nah, I don't believe that. Anyway, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna take my afternoon nap.
All right, peace.
God bless.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.